was an ambush.
How many did you save?
Just like a dream.
You did the only thing you could do. And you lost.
Like a dream.
Look, we're still in this thing.
The day you walked away.
But we have no idea what we're dealing with.
Unfortunate.
Things are getting worse around here, aren't they?
Boyd, we're out of food.
Too many things are changing. Yeah. I have to remember.
Remember what?
What's missing?
Nothing that I've been through is possible.
I think you're here for what's in the basement.
This place will not break us. We can still win. But the only way we go home is together.
Hello. The game here is rigged. Why can't they leave us alone?
No matter what this place throws at us, we're gonna find our way home.
Everybody just talks about how afraid they are of dying. Well, I don't think that's the worst thing that can happen to you here.
Hello?
Like a dream.
You looking for these?
Into my life.
You can't save them all.
But things are really how they seem.
Fatima is missing. We know that she's afraid.
I'm trying to protect you.
They think that we don't have what it takes to find her.
What is it? She wants us to follow her.
We proved that this place couldn't break us. Stop! We can either lay down and die, or we can say, we're taking our lives back.
So it's getting worse.
Seems like. When I was in the barn with Tancha, they made me watch. They say they wanted to break me. What if this thing with Fatima, with the baby?
No, Dad, this isn't because of you.
But you don't know that.
You doing okay in there, boy?
What'd you say?
Dad, no.
Huh?
Hey, Dad.
Hey, no, son. Huh?
Shut your fucking mouth. Shut your fucking mouth!
Hey, come on, Dad, just.
And welcome welcome all to another Fromville Hour. And I must say, that scene right there was, not only was it a really fun scene, it's always fun to see Harold Perrineau kind of go, summon his kind of inner Samuel L. Jackson. But that scene in particular, I recently found out, was improv. The writer, John Griffin, actually stated on Twitter, I believe Sunday night, that the nurse motioning the gun to her head was not in the script. That was just totally improv right in the moment that the nurse actress just did on her own. And it completely fits. I mean, I love when you see these little improv scenes happen and you find out later on that it was just not part of the script. It was just so in the moment. And for me, scenes like that, good improv scenes like that, really just showcase that sometimes an actor or an actress just really knows the character they're playing and knows what will work. So that was pretty interesting to know that was completely improv and right off the cuff. So kudos to the nurse actress there.
Yeah, cool. And brave of her too, because I mean she's an ultimate bit player in something like this. And if she wasn't supposed to do that, if they really didn't want her to do that, I mean that would be like wrecking a scene with the main people. So it'd be
Yeah.
like, oh shit, hey, by the way, yeah, take that, you know, your this is your last day. Pick up your paycheck on the way out.
Yeah. Here we go. We get the third nurse monster now, and we already lost the first one. Now we're about to lose the second. Shit. Yeah, no, it was a cool scene. It was. It's cool to see these little improv moments, and to see Harold Perrineau's reaction to it as well. I mean, he kind of played right into it as well. You see the look on his face after he does it, and just that pissed off look on his face, like, okay, oh, that's what you want to do, all right. It was just a good scene, and to know that a good portion of it was improv just makes it that much better. So yeah, again, just awesome job to the. I meant to find out her name before the show. I just didn't have time to check it out. But kudos to the nurse actress here.
That was another whipsaw, even just within that scene. You know, it's funny how the way they write this, you could not like somebody and then they'll do something right at the end of the scene, and it'll be like, okay, well, you know, like everybody's. I hate to say shades of gray because I don't really consider it shades of gray, but they're flawed, but they're not entirely good and not entirely bad. Because Ellis was, you know, kind of being a little bitch in that scene, you know, prior to this, and it's like, oh god, whatever. And then but then, you know, the scene called for him to tell Boyd to get away from that effing window, because that was what the monster was trying to goad him. The monster was trying to get him to do something, break the window, shoot the window, do something, you know, or at the very least, you know, take it at face value, put the gun to his own head. And Ellis is just get away from the effing window. You know, that was what the worst possible thing that he could do. So it was kind of funny. It was a good scene, definitely a good scene. But then again, I mean, Harold Perrineau, he'll carry every scene though.
Yeah, he can. I mean, you throw that guy into any situation, you know, on this show, and pretty much anything he's in. But you throw him in any scene, any situation, and you know he's going to bring it. You know he's going to nail it. And I was talking about this last week, but I have to imagine as an actor, especially as when you look at some of the cast members on this show, there's a lot of younger actors who don't have all the experience that Harold Perrineau does yet. So I imagine having an actor like Harold on set and just, you know, seeing the energy that he brings into every scene he puts forth, that kind of energy must be infectious on set and probably just raises the performance of everybody else around him. So, yeah, they're lucky to really have a vet like Harold kind of heading this cast up.
Do you reckon he had to audition for it, or do you reckon they just like picked him out like, we want you for this?
I don't know. I mean, these days, actors of Harold's caliber, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't have to audition, if they kind of just knew they wanted him as Boyd. But I wouldn't be too surprised if he maybe came in and read a few lines maybe for the writers and creators just to kind of get a feel. But but I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't have to either. I mean, the guy is, people know what they're going to get with Harold Perrineau. I imagine at this point, from what I hear, he's got a very good reputation in the industry for being one of the hardest workers. So not just on this show, but on basically everything he's ever been in. So I wouldn't be too surprised if they just offered him the role and just knew that maybe he would be right for this character. And if they did, I mean, they nailed it.
Well, knowing him from Lost, you'd think that, I mean, it's almost like this role was written for him. I mean, obviously, I don't know. I wouldn't say that the show was created for him, but the role of Boyd, I mean, they must have known how Harold acts, and some of Boyd's mannerisms or tendencies, you know, fit Harold to a T, unless Harold is that versatile where he's shaping himself to the role perfectly.
Chad is saying Harold didn't have to audition. His wife knew the casting director, and he's one of the executive producers for the show.
Nice. Yeah, I know he's an executive producer, but yeah, I didn't know his wife knew the casting director. Although that does make kind of sense. And I know he also knows a lot of the executive producers and some of the other people from his time on Lost. You know, he was on Lost for a few years, and there's a lot of talent that worked on Lost on this show as well. So no, that makes sense that maybe he didn't have to audition, because I mean, you know what you're getting with an actor like Harold. So no, that makes perfect sense. You know what you're going to get with him. And again, perfect casting. It does feel like he was kind of made for this role, whether it was kind of crafted for him or if he just kind of knew this was going to be a role that would fit him. Every once in a while, you just see an actor or an actress and it just feels like they were born to play that part. And Harold is definitely in that kind of category with Boyd, I feel. And same thing with Scott McCord as Victor. These guys are just meant to play these parts. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, there's probably like 3 or 4 that are just outstanding actors in this show. Like, I love Donna. Jade is obviously he's amazing.
Yes.
I think Donna overdoes it sometimes, though. I think Donna, when with high intensity, it's kind of weird. Some people could do standard acting, but when the high intensity scenes, whether it's crying, whether it's anger, whether it's screaming, all the high intensity emotions, sometimes it just doesn't hit. The one that I was pointed out, and I hate when we talk about it, the episode before the show, because you pointed out Ricky He, the scene with Kenny and Boyd. We'll talk about that a little later, but Ricky He is always. He's very, very solid, and probably, and I'll go. Here's my hot take. I'll say that he's more believable he's more real and more believable, because all of his scenes seem like something a person would say, and specifically something that Kenny would say. And I would say that Ricky I won't say that he's better than Scott McCord in all episodes, but I think in this episode he was, honestly. And he didn't do that much. He just carried the dialogue. He just carried it along. But it was so organic and so realistic. I thought he did, honestly, in this episode, I thought he did better than Victor. And Victor really had a chance to shine in this episode. So that's my hot take for this episode.
No, I don't think that's even too hot either. Because I mean, I think you and I were kind of similar, where we weren't too hot on season 1 Kenny, or maybe even season 2 Kenny. But like season 3 Kenny, he's really coming into his own. I mean, he was always a good actor, but seeing the progression of not just him as an actor, but the character development as well, Kenny's become one of my favorite characters on the show this season. Like, he's really been bringing it. And like you mentioned, in terms of the acting prowess, from the very beginning of this season, Kenny has just been Ricky He has just been nailing his scenes. Everything from the death of Tien Chen to the aftermath and him kind of his reaction to that death, the cave scene between him and Boyd. Like, he's really been bringing it this scene. So I must say, I'm super impressed with Ricky He as Kenny in season 3. I wasn't a big fan of him in season 1. I like the actor. I just wasn't a big fan of the character in season 1. But he's definitely won me over in season 3 to become one of the most solid characters on the show now, I feel.
I think that Father Catry, that's a big loss. It kind of seems like a bad choice now, because he was excellent. I don't know.
I know. Yeah. Like, looking back in terms of like pure acting performance, yes, Sean Majumdar playing Father Catry, definitely one of the strongest actors in the entire series. So yeah, it is a bit of a loss. Like, I'm glad that they're bringing him back for some of these small scenes here and there with Boyd every once in a while, and I hope they continue to do that, because it's nice to still see him on screen. But yeah, man, I always think, what would the show look like as a whole if Father Catry never got killed off? I mean, his death was like a major catalyst for the rest of that season, so I kind of understand why it needed to happen. But I always wonder, what would the show look like if he never got killed off? And, what other awesome scenes could we have gotten from Sean Majumdar as Catry? So, yeah, he's definitely missed.
So I'm going to be wondering.
I think Sarah's good too. Sorry, go Ravna.
Oh, yeah. No, Sarah's what I like the most is when they don't overact. When people aren't overacting, they seem more like real people. Because if you knew somebody who was screaming all the time in real life, that's just not somebody I'd be hanging around with all the time. Even if I was trapped in a, in a hellscape world where monsters kill you, I wouldn't be spending my leisure time with somebody who's screaming. That's where the cursing is. I don't know if I'm just keyed into it now, and you guys know, and the chat will know, I'm certainly not a saint, and I speak freely from time to time, but it's something that I don't like in myself. And man, these people, they just bust out the cursing way too much. Akasa especially, she's got a very foul mouth, and it's just like, it automatically amps up the intensity of anything. What the fuck's wrong with you? You can't say that to somebody. You could say, what's wrong? Hey man, what's wrong? Or what the fuck's wrong with you? What the fuck's your problem? You can't. Come on, man. And these guys are always and Donna was always coarse. She was always that way, so that's expected with her character. But some of these other guys, it's coming in a way that's not quite organic for me, and it's like, it's kind of
Okay.
well, if you guys thought if you guys thought that the loss of Kadri is bad, wait till Fatima is dead, because we've had two scenes, two flashback scenes, the one with Julie up in Fatima's room, and now Donna with reminiscing about Fatima's anniversary. And this is 2 times that we've had flashbacks, which are pretty rare in this show. I mean, it was rare when we saw it with Julie, and we're like, wow, that's rare. And now this is the 2nd time, and both of them centered on Fatima, emphasizing how positive she was, how she's a light, her spirit, blah, blah, blah. So she's dead. She's deader than disco. I guarantee it.
Think Fatima's going to go?
Yeah, I was in denial until actually prepping for this show. And then I was like, wait a minute, this is the 2nd time that they've emphasized how important she is. So yeah, she's dead.
I think she would survive if she hadn't kind of gotten into the whole let's eat the rotten fruit, let's drink the blood thing. I think once she started to accept it, she sealed her fate.
Is she too far gone now? Like now that she's killing people, she's eating rotten food. I mean, she's sipping on Elgin's blood like she's a damn vampire. Is she maybe too far gone now, maybe to come back from that abyss?
Yeah, Boyd was not the only one that they're trying to break. They're trying to break anybody who is positive. They had to straight up slash Kadri's throat because they weren't going to break him. But they broke Fatima, and part of it was eating rotten. It's bit by bit, and it's very masterfully done writing because they're playing on our the audience's aversions. We are not going to eat rotten food. That's disgusting to us. We're not going to drink blood. That's disgusting to us. Cannibalism and that kind of stuff is naturally aversive to regular normal people. So having somebody who was the light, the spirit, the positive, the hippy dippy, the proxy to all kinds of people, the person showing people around, to orient them, to ground them, to teach them the ways. Having this person break, it's even more important. I mean, it's probably there's probably a handful of people that would be different. It would be less. I think having Fatima break her spirit and go against her ethics or morals or whatever you would call them is probably more drastic than even having Donna do such a thing. Because Donna's already a little
where she can break, anybody can break.
Yeah, so having her accept that blood is that it's a baby steps. It's little bits, getting her to accept to crave the rotten food to the point where she couldn't resist it. Okay, and then and in this scene, perfect screenshot too, because Elgin had to lift it to her lips. She wasn't going to do it voluntarily. She was rejecting it. She was rejecting it with her mouth and her mind. But
she got a little taste though.
Yeah.
Boom.
Then she grabs it and got more of it. Yeah. Exactly.
She didn't have to be convinced very much.
No. Well, yeah. When she got the taste,
you can tell she was trying to resist it. Like you said, I don't know if she would have just picked that thing up on her own and just start jugging. Maybe she would have eventually, but you could tell like she was very much trying to resist it. But Elgin kind of put that shit right to her mouth, and she just, man.
It was like someone passing someone a joint and going, "Do you want to smoke?" And they're like, "Oh no, I don't smoke." And then them going, "Are you sure?" And then them going, "Oh, okay, I guess I will."
Yeah, all the cool people are doing it. Yeah. All the cool people are drinking mason jars full of blood.
Oh man, yeah, it's an interesting point though. Like you said, I mean, she, eating the rotten food is one thing, but now that you're going this far, that's a good question to ask. Has she crossed the point of no return now? Did she maybe cross a line that maybe she can't come back from? So it is an interesting, choice to ponder, especially like you mentioned with a character like Fatima, who does kind of have that, or at least up until this point, did have that kind of inner light inside of her, who was incredibly important to everybody at Colony House, not just Donna, not just Ellis, not just Boyd. Seems like Fatima was important to everybody. And that's why, like you mentioned, we get that really good flashback to her 1-year anniversary. where Donna's talking about, Fatima's one of the main reasons that Colony House feels more like a home and not just a, drafty old box.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, seeing something like that happen to a character like that, who we did think maybe did have that inner strength and probably wouldn't be manipulated in those kind of ways. Yeah, it does beg the question, like, holy shit, if this can happen to her, it can happen to anybody. So yeah, you guys are, Ravener is officially worried about Fatima surviving. I gotta admit, I'm a little bit worried too. I mean, we have no idea what's going on with her, especially after she starts drinking this blood. She starts showing instantly. It's like she takes a sip of this blood, and then within the span of the same episode, literally the next day, she's already showing with a huge gut. So whatever's growing inside of her, like, boom, this is literally the next day, and look at her, fucking huge already.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm worried about her. I'm worried about her longevity and surviving this pregnancy after whatever the heck is going to come out of her. Because I mean, I'm pretty sure it seems like it's not going to be no normal human baby coming out of her at this point.
Yeah, that was so cool. I love that. Like, one episode ago, she had to try to convince Ellis that she was pregnant with a tape measure around her stomach. I'm getting, it's getting bigger. And it wasn't any bigger. It was her regular stomach. And then now, a little taste of the blood, and you got exactly what you're showing. Man, you're on point with these screenshots today. This is awesome because it emphasizes everything. Yeah, man. It's
this one I saw and I was like, "Oh, I got to grab this one." It perfectly shows the belly kind of getting a little bit bigger there. And as Mo Big points out, what if Fatima's only chance at redemption is to sacrifice Ethan? Oof. Yeah, Mo's not a big Ethan fan. Mo is not a big Ethan fan. I am actually. I've actually really been enjoying Ethan in this episode in particular. I feel like there was one really good scene with Ethan and Jim inside the RV. And we'll dive into that one too a little bit. But first, let me say what is up to the awesome chat. We got some awesome folks in here, and a big thank you to everybody for joining us on this fine Tuesday evening as we head into the penultimate episode of season 3. Hard to believe there's only one episode left already. I mean, this season just absolutely whipped by incredibly fast. And I mean, they got a lot of storylines to tie up and not a whole lot of time left to do it. So it's going to be interesting to see what they shove into this finale, what they choose to finish within the confines of this season, and what storylines are they going to carry over into season 4? Because there's no way they can wrap all of these individual storylines up in a single episode. I imagine there's going to be some carryover to the fourth season, with, of course, hopefully some new mysteries and some new big twists coming around our way that will also set up season 4. But awesome stuff. We got Ty in the house. What is up, Ty? Good to see you. We got Jennifer in the building. What is up, Jennifer? I see Panda in the house. We got Nick L in the building as well. And speaking of, Nick L created some awesome 3D printed talismans that we are going to be giving away here on the channel. And we are going to be reigniting the Fromville giveaway. And I think we're going to be doing it this Sunday for the finale. The last episode, we are approaching the episode 10, the big one, or what we hope to be the big one. So we're probably going to do the giveaway this Sunday night for the season finale. So definitely come by and hang out with us Sunday night, guys, because we are going to give away some awesome 3D printed talismans made by the awesome Nick L, hand painted by Nick as well. And you really add the finishing touch on them with the hand paint. So yeah, we're going to be doing that this Sunday, and just our small way of saying thank you for all the support you guys have shown us all year, and not just this year, but every time we go live, whether it's this show, all the other shows we talk about. Incredibly thankful to the awesome people who support us. So just our small way of giving back to the chat. So anybody who wants a chance to win a 3D printed talisman, come and hang out this Sunday night for our watch party. We got Doc Hayes in the house in Hollywood Pineapple. What is up, fellas? Good to see y'all. We got Ando in the building. What is up, Ando? My brother. Always good to see Ando. We got Susie in the house. What is up, Susie? We need a which from archetype are you quiz on on some show with weird ads.
I'm Dale. I'm a Dale.
That is an interesting one. Which from archetype were you? Honestly, I'm probably more similar to Jade than anything. With maybe a splash of Boyd. I don't know.
Victor all the way.
You're Clara.
And what about Clara again popping up in the it's always Clara that pops up anytime something weird is happening. We got Victor up in his room just having a complete tantrum, throwing all this stuff out of his window, and of course, who comes through the fucking door to check on him? None other than Clara herself. She's just everywhere, this chick. She's absolutely everywhere. There she is.
Yeah,
Victor's having his little fit. He's throwing all of his toys out the window, and of course, none other than Clara shows up. Gotta love it.
It's so strange, though. What do they mean by doing this constantly? Like, she's not a character that has much dialogue, but she's always there at
She's
interesting
just always
points.
there. I don't know. She's
Why?
just always freaking there. It's a big mystery. Bigger mystery than where the monsters come from at this point is how the heck Clara operates.
Is she really just the person that moves things along with one line or something? Because she was in some completely unnecessary scenes, like when she was bringing flowers to the diner after Tianjin died, and then bolted out the door as soon as Kenny gets there. She's like, oh, I'm sorry, and but she's always there. Is it first it was like you didn't notice her, then you are noticing her. I mean, she it was funny when Jade stole her bike or whatever. That was our introduction to Clara.
That was pretty fun. Yeah, that was
and
pretty
then
good.
But man, now she's everywhere, and I think it's now to the point where she's everywhere and we're not even taking note of it. We're noticing, but it's not sticking out to us anymore. Kind of. She's always there just to like push the scene along just that little bit, and it's like, what the heck is going on? I'm noticing. Well, yeah, we'll get into this a little later, but she's not quite the Kramer. The thing that they're doing in this show, and I noticed it many times, a few times at least in this episode. I think 3 times actually. There's remember Kramer would burst into the scene on Seinfeld whenever they were done and they needed a transition.
Yeah,
Kramer bursts in, and we're getting Kramered. We got Kramered 3 times in this episode. Kenny, like when Sarah was asking Tabitha what she felt when the spirit, like when she touched Victor, boom, here comes Kenny. Hey, Julie's injured, go help her. Julie's at the clinic. That a quick interruption. Then when Jim was trying to sit there and talk to Julie in the clinic, she was finally going to tell her what she experienced. Boom, here comes Tabitha. Every time somebody gets ready to say something, I think that's one thing. There's 2 ways to do it. I mean, there's like, hey, we need to go over to here, so everybody grab your bag and go, and people grab their bag, then they can cut to the next scene. This one, everything's getting interrupted midway through a sentence and not getting to finish a thought and not getting to finish a plot line, not getting to share this critical info. The exact same thing happened. Julie was in the middle of being a bitch at breakfast when the bell rings. Hey, everybody, we need to go outside. Oh, shit. Okay. She, at this point, I think Julie's worse than, for the people that hate Jim, I want to hear how you think that Jim is worse than Julie. Because there's a point at which if you're actively withholding critical information, if we're on a mission, whether, whatever kind of mission, whether it's just staying alive in a hellish town, if you're actively withholding critical information that other people might be able to make use of, you're an enemy agent. So I mean, at
that rate, they're all enemy agents.
that's pretty true. That is pretty true.
Jim's had one good episode where he hasn't been an asshole. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here.
You're an anti-Jimite.
Jim, I must say, I was very impressed with Jim in this episode. He shows a really great deal of growth and kind of evolution of his character in this episode, where it seems like he's finally listening to good advice, and not only listen to it, actually putting it into practice as well. Let's dive into a little bit of that. We drink blood with this dude, but we didn't have flu. Did you?
I love that song. So good.
Oh, that's so good, Mo. I missed that one. I'm gonna have to get that loaded up for Sunday for sure. For sure. I know Elgin is a big guy, but that was an awful lot of blood he drained from himself. He should be faint. That's a good point, Luna. He filled up quite a lot of jars of blood there. And it's, yes, at the very least, he should be lightheaded. I mean, that would have been enough blood to probably make him pass out, to be honest. But at the very least, he should be very weak right now. And I imagine there's not just a bunch of vitamins lying around in Fromville for him to kind of restore himself with. So yeah, he drained a good deal of blood from himself for sure. That was no small amount. Now we got an interesting one here from Sadiq. Thank you so much for the 199. Whose death would be the saddest if they died? Now, all right, now this is an interesting one. I want to hear from everybody in the chat, and of course from Ravener and Rob as well. If there was one character that you guys think would be the saddest death, not the character that you don't want to lose the most, but the saddest death, who would that character be? For me, Rob. I mean, obviously, Jade, I don't want to lose the most. Like, Jade's my favorite character. But in terms of the saddest death, I think it would be if Victor got killed.
Yeah, I'm agreeing. I thought I don't want to see Jade died. If I had a choice, that would be the last person I'd want to die. But I think you're right. I think the saddest would be Victor.
Ethan for me.
This is like kicking a puppy. You can't kill Victor.
You can't kill a little kid, especially now that, I mean, Megan was one thing because she had all of one line of dialogue. But now that we know Ethan, you can't kill a little kid like that, especially if they linger on him.
You get a little pass because he's annoying.
No.
Just a little bit.
Look, I mean, what would it be? I mean, no, I mean, this isn't what would be the most devastating to the show. It would be the saddest. You know, they'd be playing that mournful violin music, and then they'd have a nice, like, lingering camera shot of him looking all angelic and pale and weird in a coffin. Yeah, that would be super sad, man.
It would be sad to see Ethan go. I mean, it's sad anytime you see, a child get killed off in a show.
Unnatural.
I feel like that's what. It's unnatural, exactly. It's like it's not something you want to see, as a young person, being laid to rest. And I feel like that's why From really kind of, made such a profound impression on a lot of us in that very first episode of the first season. Seeing what happens to Megan and her mother super early on, within the first 10 minutes of the episode, it really kind of sets the tone for this series as a whole, and let me know that these writers they're not playing around, and they're not afraid to take some risks here and there. Not many shows would be willing to risk killing off a child in that manner within the first 10 minutes of their very first episode. That's just not a thing a lot of writers would even attempt for fear of how the show would be received. But they didn't mind. They went right to that line and said, screw you, line, and dusted it all up with their feet and said, we're creating a new line. And I love that. I absolutely love that attitude. I love that approach to storytelling where they're not afraid to take some risks here and there in certain spots. So yeah, I think Ethan would be just as sad as Victor dying, but because, seeing Victor die, it's almost like seeing a 10-year-old kid die. He is a 10-year-old kid just stuck in an adult's body. So yeah, I think those are some pretty good ones between.
I don't know. Like if Ethan died, I'd be like, oh, that's kind of sad. But if Victor died, I'd be like, that's really sad. I can't believe they've done this.
Yeah, well, we got to vote for Jade in the house as well from Frenchie. Yeah, Jade's my favorite character. Like, he's the character I would, if I had to pick one character to definitely not get killed, it would be Jade. But in terms of the character that I would feel the saddest at seeing die, it would probably be Victor. But yeah, Jade will always be my favorite character. Donna from Condor Kid, that's another one. Yeah, don't want to see Donna die. Absolutely. Ethan, we got another vote for Ethan. We got Katri. It already happened. Yes, Eric Grant. Yes. It's that was a good one. I mean, it just the way that it was written, the way that it was kind of carried out, the way it was acted out. Just phenomenal scene from Sean Majumdar and Howard Paranu there. Definitely still to this day, the most memorable death on the scene, for me anyway, is Father Katri. And it'll be very tough to top that death, in my opinion. I mean, I know other people have their preferences in terms of what death scenes they, hit the hardest. You can make a really good argument for Tien Chen's as well. That was a really devastating one, just considering that much like Fatima, or even more than Fatima, Tien Shen was one of those characters that really just embodied everything it meant to be good, to be a decent person, to the point where even feeling something like hate was a foreign feeling to her after she found out what Sarah did, the hand that Sarah played in killing her husband. We get that really great line from Tien Shen when Sarah comes to pick up her belongings in season 2, and Tien Shen says to her, "I take care of you, and you put hate inside me." And it was just such a powerful scene. I mean, very minimal dialogue, but she, the actress who plays Tien Shen, Elizabeth Moy, just delivered it so freaking well. And it's amazing that sometimes the most powerful and strongest scenes on shows like this are shows with very minimal dialogue or no dialogue, when it's just pure old acting, body languages, mannerisms, facial expressions. And you see Tien Shen say that, "You put hate inside me." And it was just such a powerful scene because it really showcased how good of a person Tien Shen really was, where feeling something like hate was incredibly foreign to her.
Yeah.
So that was a really tough one too.
Yeah, and she even after Paula and Reggie brought all of Sarah's possessions to Tien Shen for storage, if if that person was responsible for killing my husband or whatever, my spouse or whatever, I could have seen Tien Shen throwing that shit out in the street to begin with, setting it on fire. I mean, nobody would have faulted her for saying, "I'm not going to safeguard your little box of possessions." But she did. She's like, "I know why you're here." And she went and got it. She said, "You take these and go." But she didn't destroy them. She wasn't spiteful. Now, Kenny was. He was impetuous and spiteful and did break that ornament, which has made a massive recovery in season 3.
Yes, we see her finally finish fucking putting it together in this episode. Yeah, the Christmas ornament. That's right. Yep. She worked diligently and finally got that thing put back together, and it looked pretty. It looked good for as many pieces it was in. Bravo to you, Sarah. You got it done.
But Tien Shen was like one of the few undoubtedly good with very few personality flaws. Really, she was as good of a person, I think, as there was in the show. Honestly,
without a doubt. In terms of like as pure a character as you could find, I think it would be hard to find a character on this show that was more pure or more good natured than Tien Shen was. She was it. She was like the gold standard there.
She did believe in corporal punishment because she did whack Jade with the whisk a time or two.
This is true. This is true. We got a vote for Kenny as well. We got another vote for Victor. Yeah. I mean, seeing Kenny go would be very sad. I think that's another good one, just considering everything we've already seen up until this point. Kenny's lost everything. I mean, not only did he lose Christy super early on, I know Christy didn't die, but he did lose Christy as soon as her fiance showed up. There's the end of that budding romance. But then again, and then later on, boom, he loses his father, and then he loses his mother. Like, Kenny has lost so much. So to see Kenny himself get killed after all of that, that would be a very sad death, because you would hope that Kenny would be able to. And Kenny is one of the few characters that I am predicting will survive the entire series. I don't think Kenny will die. I think Kenny will be vital towards the end of the show. And I do think eventually Kenny will step into those shoes and replace Boyd. Depending on how bad Boyd gets or where his storyline goes. But Kenny's one of the few characters that I really feel is going to survive the entire series. But yeah, that would be a very sad one to see him go, just considering all of the loss that he and his family have incurred. I mean, it'd be pretty savage to wipe the entire Tien Shen family off the map and kill Kenny off too. That would be
Other than Frank's family, there hasn't been an entire family wiped clean here that we know of, right?
Not that I could think of. No. Well, no. Oh, yeah. Well, other than Megan's family. Yeah, Megan, the mother, and Frank. And when Frank kind of offs himself and puts himself in the box, there's kind of the end of that whole family there.
Yep.
Just on Christy for a sec, she's still very, very much injured. She's got no bonus healing power. What do you make of that?
Yeah, she's not healing. She's not healing too fast, that's for sure. I mean, I know it's still technically within the confines of the show. It's only been a few days since she's got that injury, so it's kind of understandable. But yeah, she's hobbling around. She's no better than she was when she first got it, for sure.
Yeah, there was a really good post in Discord that had the timetable of how how long the entire timetable for the show was, and it was actually shorter than I had expected. I think it was well within a month. I think
Like a
26,
month or
27,
so.
28 days
Yeah,
maybe
I would have
for the
said like a
entire time.
month or 2
Yeah, from
months,
the time
maybe.
that the
Yeah.
yeah, I thought there was I thought for some reason I thought there was a time that it was indistinct in the middle, but I guess whoever it was that sat down and charted out the events, the day night events and whatnot. It
Yeah,
all
if
it
you
all
go back and
fits
watch
within the course of a month. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you go back and watch the entire series from episode 1 on, all you really got to do is count all the days. You count all the nights and days because this show does kind of operate in quote unquote real time, as it were. So if you were to start from right from episode 1 and rewatch the entire series, if you were to count every single night and day, yeah, you would get that exact total of exactly how long it's been since the Matthews family arrived. And yeah, I've always thought it was been around a month, 2 months or so. So 30 something days, that sounds about right, definitely. And kudos to whoever sat down and counted that out too. That's awesome. Good job. We got Mel B in the house. What is up, Mel B? Mel B would be sad if we lost Victor. Yeah, again, Victor. I mean, he would be the saddest for me. The cowboy monster as well. Yes, I mean, where the heck has the cowboy monster been, man? We have not seen freaking Woody, as the chat has dubbed him. We have not seen Woody the monster in a very long time. I believe we haven't seen him since like episode 4. I think was the last time he made an appearance. I was definitely expecting him to be not the new Smiley, but I was definitely expecting Cowboy Monster to become a much more prominent monster on the show, just considering how how the season started off with him really kind of seeming like he was the whole ringleader of the whole trap Boyd and kill Tien Shen. He was very much at the head of all of that. The only one who spoke any dialogue during that scene. I was very much expecting the cowboy monster to maybe step into those Smiley shoes, but yeah, we haven't seen the cowboy monster since then, unfortunately.
He got wind. He got the memo that Boyd was going to set a trap for the monster and capture one. So
He took off.
Cowboys, yeah, he set his own ambush, but he's been waiting for the whole season behind a door to jump out at somebody.
Just waiting for his opportunity.
Yeah, that old plot line's gone. Hey, we're gonna trap a monster. We're gonna take the fight to them. Whoops. Yeah, never to be mentioned again.
I am a little disappointed with that too, like because that was one. I think when we all heard that storyline, I think a lot of us thought, okay, this is not going to end well, but I cannot wait to see what happens here. But yeah, that whole storyline has kind of been dropped. And I mentioned this a little bit in my recent episode 9 breakdown video, where Boyd's character as a whole, Boyd's main character, I mean, he is one of the main characters, if not the main character of the entire show, along with the Matthews family. So it's been interesting. It seems like Boyd's storyline has kind of been put on the back burner in the second half of season 3. He was very prominent in the first half of season 3, where the whole show was pretty much centered around him being just psychologically tormented by these monsters. That was pretty much the main focal point of the show during the first 4 or 5 episodes, first half of season 3. But in the second half of season 3, his character has taken a little bit of I don't want to say been put on the back burner, but like you mentioned, we got not even a single reference to his whole plan to try and trap a monster. And on top of that, he hasn't really had a whole lot of main storylines in some of these later episodes. Mm-hmm. It's been more kind of focusing on some of the ensemble characters, which is totally okay to do. I mean, when you have an ensemble cast like this, you have to kind of focus on all of the storylines and other characters as well. But Boyd hasn't been given a whole lot to do in these last few episodes. I mean, it's nice that he's starting to come a little bit back to the forefront in episode 9, where they're starting to bring back the Parkinson's into play. It's starting to become a lot worse for him, and he's noticing that he's getting worse, and he's even taking steps to ensure the town's safety when he can no longer function. But up until now, Boyd hasn't been given a whole lot to do ever since they dropped that capture a monster storyline. So yeah, let's bring Boyd back, shall we?
So what do you guys think then? So what do you make of them? They're doing the exact opposite of what I would have thought you would do for the second to last episode. They put everybody they've separated everybody rather than bringing everybody together where you can wrap things up in a bow, or and maybe you can try a cliffhanger for the end of the season and something amazing happening. They've literally separated, and if they were going to do this, they should have done it maybe an episode or more ago. But they're putting these pairs, these individual pairs, out into the wild to have conversations that don't need to be had. Yeah, like the Donna Acosta thing was like, why the hell are we or are we watching this? I wasn't even really that happy with Henry and Jade with their thing, because I'm kind of over Jade, honestly. I know you guys love him, and here's another hot take. I'm kind of over it, and I'm almost seeing
there hasn't
Jade
been enough progression with it, and I'm a little. I love Jade. He's my favorite character, but even I'm getting a little frustrated with that storyline because it's kind of just been the same thing over and over and over again. And they
this is
haven't really
important. This is important.
Plot a whole lot more.
Yeah, I'm going to do this because it's important. This is important. But if you were a character in there, if you were Boyd, if you were Jim, and you see this guy standing there pointing and demanding that what this thing, I don't have to do what everybody else does because what I'm doing is important.
Yeah.
And with zero even hint of it that it's important. I I have an analogy, but it's too offensive. But I mean, if you find somebody that like somebody demands that what they're doing is important, but what they're doing involves them sitting on a bench drawing something where everybody else is harvesting, doing manual labor, but my work is important. You would have a negative opinion of that person. And yeah, man, I'm not really sold on it with Jade, and I agree, like how you're saying. I think they've dragged it on a little long without even a hint of a payoff. And to be fair, we are seeing things from Jade's perspective too. So we see the things that only he's privy to. So we know there is more to it than what other people are seeing, but the other people don't know that.
Yeah, again, like it's starting to feel a little bit repetitive because it's kind of just he's going through the same old motions between numbers, weird vision, and they're not really advancing his storyline, as rapidly as I would have hoped. Like, I would have hoped by the time we got to the end of season 3, Jade would have been, he would have had a little bit more progression than the progression that we're seeing right now. Jade seems to be in the exact same place he is in right now than he was when he started the season. He hasn't really advanced much. So as much as I love Jade and David Alpay, again, he's definitely my favorite character. I have to be objective at the same time and admit, yes, it does start to feel a little repetitive. Like it's kind of they're spinning their wheels with Jade's storyline, almost like they're putting his big bits off for next season, and that sucks. I mean, I would definitely like to see a little bit more from him. I mean, we still have to see the finale and see what kind of role he'll play. Based on the trailer, it seems like he's going to be pulling out the good old violin again. So that'll be interesting to see what that entails. But no, I agree with you. Again, I have to at least be kind of objective in my analysis of the show in terms of his storyline does feel a little repetitive. I was hoping to get a little bit more of a payoff from Jade by the time we got this far into the season, for sure.
If it's only been a month since they got there, how has he grown a full beard?
Right, he's got a full beard. His hair,
check out.
He's gonna be Chewbacca by the time we get to season 5, Jade, at this rate. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And you look at characters like Boyd. Boyd's hair is actually shorter now than it was in season 2. It's just one of those things where you kind of have to just suspend disbelief every once in a while. But I always kind of notice these little things. It's just I always kind of try to notice these little continuity things. But yeah, his hair and his beard has been growing like a freaking madman, where everybody else has kind of been pretty much staying the same. But speaking of growing up like madmen or staying the same, and I do agree with you, David Mills. Yeah, the worst grid search we have ever seen. Like that, and you would think somebody like Boyd, who does have that military background, you would think he would be a little more capable of setting up a proper grid search. But no, they kind of just pair off into twos and just go all off in weird, random, different directions. The worst possible way that you could search for somebody is how they did it. Yeah,
well, I think they did that because they wanted to set up Ellis figuring out that Elgin has something to do with it, so that in the next episode he can follow Elgin to the trapdoor or cellar, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
I know. Pretty sus.
I know.
everything he was saying, man. It's just, what's up with you, Elgin? Why are you asking all these weird freaking questions? Why are you saying all this weird shit? If I was Ellis, I would definitely have been sus about him for sure.
He overdid it. Yeah, Elgin overdid it with like, she'll be fine. Don't worry. You know that like.
What, she's doing something out there that's going to help us? But what the? She's missing. What do you mean she's going to do something out there that's going to help us? What the fuck do you know that we don't, bro?
Exactly. Dirty, same shirt wearing mother. What do you know?
Yeah, he's living up to his Smelton name. But no, in terms of like you mentioned earlier with Jade's hair and his beard growing, I also want to touch on this. We also got speaking of growing, we know that they have had two very prominent child actors on the show, and I've brought this up multiple times in the past, but this is one of those problems that you run into anytime you cast child actors on a long-running series. You get to a point where these kids start to grow up a little bit too much. And as the chat has mentioned, it's only been a month since the Matthews family has arrived, and Ethan already looks 2-3 years older. Same thing with the boy in white. Now, I thought it was pretty interesting that they at least found a kind of, and I got to give kudos to John Griffin, the writer, for coming up with this kind of clever workaround to explain why the boy in white looks so much older. I mean, they still have to deal with the whole Ethan thing getting bigger, but this was actually a pretty interesting explanation where Victor even straight up says the same thing that we've been saying as the audience, like, holy crap, the boy in white looks way older, because we know he's being played by the same actor, Vox Smith, that played him in season 1. And we've seen him kind of progressively get older and older each season. And I've always wondered, how are they going to reconcile this, not just with his character, but with Ethan's character as well? Because again, when you have these child actors on these shows, at some point, there's usually 3 clear methods that we've seen in previous shows with situations like this, where a child gets a little bit too old for the role and they either recast the role, or they'll write in some kind of time jump to explain why this character looks so much older now, or they'll just kill the character off. Those have been the 3 most used answers to situations like this I've seen in other shows. But again, I got to hand it to John Griffin for coming up with his own answer entirely in terms of working this into the script, where now he has at least a somewhat believable explanation for why the boy in white looks older now, as opposed to before, where even Victor says, you never changed before. And we hear the boy in white say, everything is changing now. And it was a pretty good line, because it does kind of fit within the confines of the story, because everything is changing right now. We're seeing it get colder. We're seeing snow in here for the first time. This place has been changing as a whole. The very nature of this place seems to be changing. So I don't think it's too much of a stretch for them to kind of write that in there the way they did, where this is an explanation for why the boy in white looks so much older now. Everything is changing. So I thought that was clever. I thought that was very clever on John Griffin's part. Yeah. And this is a very interesting one from Luna Cascade for $2. Thank you so much, Luna. And I actually have a specific screenshot, because I actually counted this time. So it's very fortuitous that you brought up this question, Luna, because I actually just got done counting not too long ago when I took this screenshot right here. Now, granted, this is not everybody. We know that we know Fatima's elsewhere. We know Jade's elsewhere. I think I'm not sure if Henry's here at the time. But in terms of all the characters right here, we have 58 people. There are 58 people in this crowd. So I've always wondered, is this the population of just the town, or is this the population of the town and Colony House? Because that's one question we've had for a long time. How many people are actually in this town? How many Fromville residents are there? And we can never really get a clear answer, because we've never ever had a shot like this where you can see everybody within the span of one shot. And I believe it's around 58 people, or just under 60 people that we're seeing right here. Now, again, is that just the town, or is that the town and Colony House? It's hard to know. We do see Donna is up there as well. Boyd was ringing the bell to try and get everybody to the diner, but I imagine people at Colony House might not have heard the bell unless they were specifically brought there. But up until this point, these people right here, at least, again, just under 60 people we're seeing potentially in the town.
Yeah, just somebody who's in the bathroom or something, because they assembled pretty quick after that bell rang. Like somebody, yeah,
you
might have been doing something else. I was busy. Sorry.
Yeah, I was busy hanging bottles in trees. But no, yeah, it's again. I mean, it's hard to know if this is the entirety of the town and colony house, but at least here we got just under 60 people, which again, it's a lot of mouths to feed. And the whole consensus up until this point, every time that we've kind of talked about this subject, and we've gotten many different answers in the chat, many different theories or many different guesses in terms of how many people are actually in Fromville, but it always seemed to be around 30 to 75. Usually seem to be the range of how many people a lot of us think are in town, and it seems to be that might actually be a little bit accurate, because again, we got around 60 people here. Plus Fatima locked up down in the root cellar, plus Jade out there hanging up bottles, and Henry. So at least 60 people are in town. So yeah, it's quite a lot of mouths to feed. Quite a lot of mouths to feed. But thank you so much, Luna, for the $2. And again, that was a very fortuitous super chat, because I actually just got done counting this. I believe it was yesterday. Yesterday, I just counted this. I was going to work it into my video, but I didn't. I figured I'd save it for the stream. But yeah, around 60 people are in the town, at least now we know. And thank you so much for the 2. And thank you so much, Yash, for the 2. Just subbed. Great community. By the way, you're all cool AF. Wow, thank you for that. That is awesome. But you guys in the chat, you guys are the cool ones. And I just am super grateful that anybody chooses to come and hang out here and talk from with us, because we love diving into this show with you guys. We really do. That's why we always want to know what you guys are thinking. It's very much a show that we try to do kind of predicated on what the chat is saying. I mean, Raven or Rob and I, we could talk each other's heads off all day, but we want to hear what you guys are saying. What did you think of the episode? What were some of your favorite scenes? What were some of your least favorite scenes? Who are your favorite characters? Who are your least favorite characters? So that's what makes these streams fun, engaging with you guys in the chat. So thank you so much for that, Yash. I very much appreciate you. And I owe you and Luna a whoa.
Yeah, and Yash had mentioned, I saw in the chat, he mentioned somebody had just spoiled the episode 10, like, I guess.
Oh, no.
For him.
That sucks.
But he's like, hey,
that
I didn't,
sucks.
I'm not going to, and we appreciate it. Yeah, we definitely appreciate you not passing along the spoiler, because, it's going to be tougher and tougher, and it's where you have to almost even have to avoid the From on MGM Twitter, their actual Twitter account, because they love spoiling their own episodes sometimes.
I know. Oh, yeah. It's gotten to the point where I've completely stayed away from all social media on Saturday and Sunday, because right on Saturday, that's when the From MGM count, that's when they start posting those things from Saturday on. So yeah, at this point, I don't even go on social media on Saturday and Sunday, because I just don't want to see the spoilers. I know there's a ton of spoilers that have been going around, and up until this point, I've been pretty lucky for the most part that I haven't seen any big spoilers yet, and I kind of want to keep it that way. So it sucks, and that's why I've kind of limited my engagement with the fandom as a whole, and it sucks that as fans, we even feel the need that we have to limit engagement in certain areas just because we don't want to get spoiled. And again, this was an aspect that the show and the fandom didn't really have to worry about in season 1 and season 2. During the first 2 seasons of the show, the fandom was relatively small for the most part. It was a very kind of small underground show. Now that season 3 is here, the show has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, which is great. Don't get me wrong. I love seeing that the show is growing. I love seeing more fans finding the show. But when a show starts to get this big, you also start to invite that element of you're going to start to get leaks and spoilers and things like that. Whereas before, it was just something we didn't really have to worry too much about. But that's what happens when shows start getting a little more popular. You got to start worrying about that stuff. But yeah, you got to be careful, right, Jen? Got to be careful. So if I'm not as active in the Discord and in the comment section as I usually am, that's why. And I've been super busy too. I've been just absolutely swamped between not just the channel, but real world shit that's been going on lately. But I love having a respite from all of that and just getting on here, hanging out with you guys, diving into the show that we all love. So I appreciate everybody in the chat who has been very respectful to the no spoilers rule. I know some of you have come across some spoilers, in your travels, in your online travels out there. But I also want to say thank you, because everybody that hangs out here, at least for the most part, has been very respectful in terms of not spoiling things for others. We'll get a troll in the chat every once in a while. Apparently, I didn't see it, but apparently there was a troll in the chat the other night that was coming close or spoiling some kind of things, and and that person was removed. And that's usually the only time someone will ever get timed out in our chat. We're a pretty easygoing community. We want everybody to have their say. Everybody's opinion is welcome, whether you like the show, whether you hate the show. We want to hear from you guys. We just want to hear what you guys actually honestly think. If that's positive feedback or negative feedback, all is welcome. The only time you'll ever see timeouts happening in the chat is if somebody is blatantly trying to spoil something for others. That's the one thing that we really don't want to see in the chat. But other than that, everything else is pretty much fair game. We're pretty laid back here. At least we try to be.
Oh yeah, and then with your with your Saturday show, and then like at 12:01 we do the watch party, the live watch party, and the last couple of weeks I've been able to. I mean, I'm not getting spoiled, and everybody. We had over 150 people. I mean, you're pulling 500 plus on the Saturday show, and then
Crazy.
We're getting 150 plus just in our watch party, and all of us are just catching it for the first time. And I'm reacting the same way as everybody else is when we're getting these oh shit moments, and like, what the heck is going on here? And there's plenty of discussion about the episode after it plays and stuff, but it's just so much more satisfying not to know ahead of time. Even if the twists and turns aren't that satisfying, like they haven't necessarily been the last couple episodes, it's at least it's fresh. And everybody has a take. I love the after show, the discussion after the episode, because people are like, "What the heck?" And everybody. And again, as going back to what you were saying about how it's so important to hear what the chat is saying, because they're going to have a perspective. I mean, I might have seen something completely. We've seen many times where you and I have watched the same thing and seen entirely different takeaways from a scene, and we're getting that exact same thing from the chat as well. They have perspectives, angles, little things that they catch.
Yeah. And again, that's what makes these discussions fun. And I know I probably sound like a broken record, but I mean, I could just imagine how boring it would be if we all just thought the exact same way on every single scene. Because then you wouldn't have all these things like all of these theories and all of these discussions and all of these different interpretations of, similar scenes. It would be incredibly boring if we all kind of just thought the same way. So I actually love, hearing from the chat and hearing, what did you guys take away from this scene? What did you see while watching this scene? What deeper meaning did you kind of see in this scene? And the chat never fails to impress in terms of how good you guys are at spotting some of these things. And it makes the discussions that much better when we all kind of approach it from different perspectives. And because it would just be boring if we all thought the same way. Clara is leaking it all, says Yassine. Yeah, it's all Clara. Clara's leaking everything. We got to stop the leaker, Clara. Indeed. All right, let's dive into this a little bit, shall we? And what is up, Crazy Mad? Good to see you, my friend. Welcome. Mo had a good one up there as well, and I missed it. I had it up there on the screen a minute ago, but since it was a dig at Rob, I got to find it again. Here we go. I've been dodging spoilers like Rob dodging education.
Yep. Thanks.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Love it. All right, now let's dive into this, shall we? Now, there was a few good standout scenes for me personally. And I really want to talk about this one in particular. Let me find it here. And again, it was a decent penultimate episode, but I wouldn't say it was a great penultimate episode. Usually when you get to episodes 9 and 10, you're really hoping for them to kind of really start amping things up and really start to give us some good definitive stuff. Yes, the episode ended on a nice kind of big oh shit twist moment that the fandom has been kind of interpreting ever since then. But up until then, it was a relatively kind of tame episode for an episode 9. I was expecting a little bit more, but what we got, I did enjoy. There were some really phenomenal scenes that I just really enjoy, breaking down some of the human moments of this show. And you guys know me, I love the mystery aspect, but I also really love just seeing really good character progression on some of these characters. So we're going to dive into a few of those. And the first one I want to talk about, and I know the chat's going to love this one, but I must say, Jim Jim himself has shown or did show an incredible amount of growth in this episode in particular, in terms of how he is reacting to certain things compared to how he would normally react to things in a previous episode. And we get two really good examples of this, not only with Randall and Jim, but also with Randall, not only with Jim and Randall, but also with Jim and Tabitha later on. But first, I want to touch a little bit on the Jim and Randall scene, and just how incredibly surprised I was to see Jim's reaction when he found out that Julie and Randall, of all people, were in the woods together.
Something I could do for you? What were you and Julie doing out in the woods?
What did she say we were doing in the woods?
I'm asking you. After what happened with you and Marielle and Julie, she won't talk about it. And I know she's going through something that I cannot understand, but I figured you might.
I was teaching her how to drive, man.
And the ruins that you saw?
Look, man, I don't mean to be a dick, but I got my own shit going on, all right? You want me to explain what happened to us? Well, I can't. But I told her not to go back out there.
Why?
Because it just felt wrong.
How?
They just fucking did, Jim. That's what I got. Want my advice? I'll get the van and teach your kid how to drive. Because there is fuck all you can do about the rest. None of us are getting out of here alive.
I don't accept that.
It's good for you.
Man, I got to say, I really enjoyed the scene. And not only was it a really good scene, with just good dialogue and a good performance, but we're showing actual real character development here and real character growth on Jim's part, which is something that we didn't really get a whole lot of up until this point. I mean, I know Jim isn't, a fan favorite, at least in these parts. But I must say, I was very impressed with his performance in this episode, because again, we're seeing the evolution of Jim. We're actually seeing him take that advice that he got from Henry in the previous episode, and he's actually putting it into play. Whereas if this was season 1 or season 2 Jim, and he found out that Julie and Randall were in the woods together alone, he would have flipped out. He would have approached Randall in a much more aggressive manner. But this Jim is starting to grow up a little bit. He's starting to kind of evolve into a more complete character. And I thought this was a really interesting scene to see that he's approaching Randall. And as soon as I saw the scene, I thought, oh, shit, Randall, this is going to turn into a big argument. We know what's coming. But I was so surprised with how Jim just approached the situation in a totally different manner, where he's not coming to Randall to scold him or anything for being out in the woods with Julie. He's coming to Randall offering, an olive branch in some ways, by also asking him, like, hey, Julie's going through something traumatic here. We know that she went through something crazy, but she's not talking about it. She's not opening up to us. I'm trying to get through to my daughter, and I can't get her to convey to me what she's going through. And since you went through the same thing she did, I was hoping maybe you would have some sort of insight as to what she's going through. So overall, just seeing how Jim didn't get angry, it didn't fly off the handle, and it was actually very calm and very, level-headed in this scene. I thought it showed some really good character development and some, growth on his part, which was surprising to see coming from Jim of all people.
Yeah. Well, he's we saw him really bury the hatchet with Tabitha early in the episode. He said, look, I understand that I don't understand everything, but whatever it is you're going through, you obviously feel it's important. So I like where he wouldn't do that for Jade. Jade is insisting that what he's doing is important. Jim is not ready to do that, but for Tabitha, he is willing to do that. And the question is, where does it end? Does it stop? Where does his grace stop? Where does his acceptance? Where does his willingness to accept things that he doesn't understand? And they could have written him where it stops with Tabitha, and he still was an ass to Randall, or still very the bad side of Jim, the badly written Jim. But now we're realizing that he's when he told Tabitha, I'm all in with what you're doing, he is able to extend that to other people as well, and that does extend to Randall. I mean, Jim is accepting that there are things going on with other people that are supernatural, that are unexplained, that and I think part of it is that he had his own experiences that he can't really he's had experiences that he can't explain, and I think he's starting to realize that other people have that same thing, and the same way he would have trouble he had difficulty even just explaining it to Tabitha, about the phone and stuff. It's like, look, he might have realized that other people are having experiences that they can't really put into words as well. But yeah, this is a pretty good quality scene. And again, Randall, for being as Randall-y as he is, a pretty solid character, not aggressive necessarily, not hostile, but just enough of an attitude to kind of establish the Randallness of him. And Jim absorbed it. He absorbed a little bit of the attitude, but didn't like lash back. So yeah, I was pretty satisfied with this.
Yeah, it was just a surprising reaction. I guess we're so used to Jim kind of flying off the handle and always taking things the wrong way, and he's very quick to kind of anger. He's not really the cerebral type who will kind of sit and analyze something before he kind of acts. And we're seeing a different side to him now. And yeah, maybe it was the Henry advice kind of resonated with him a little bit deeper than we thought, because it's not only this scene, but we also see him do, pretty much the exact same thing with Tabitha later on when they're also both still in the medical clinic. And Jim comes up to Tabitha and tells her that he's behind her. He's going to support her now. And this has been a pretty big contention between them two up until this point, where Jim has been looking at Tabitha in the sense of something that needs to be fixed. And, it was very interesting that, we get a kind of role reversal in this episode where Henry was the one telling Jim, you need to look at your wife as as someone who needs help, not someone that needs to be fixed. And then in this episode, we kind of get that role reversal where Jade is giving Henry that exact same advice about Victor, where Henry is looking at Victor in the sense of something that needs to be fixed. And Jade comes out with that really great analogy as, he's Tarzan that grew up in the jungle, and you're the asshole that's making him feel bad because he doesn't know how to hold a fork. So it's very interesting to see that Henry was giving really great advice to Jim that Jim seems to have taken, but Henry was kind of incapable of applying that same advice to his own situation. So it's one of those things where I guess sometimes it's just easier to analyze situations that are happening to others as opposed to looking inward and kind of changing yourself sometimes.
Oh, yeah, I'm all forgiving. I'm a great advisor. Yeah, I'm great at giving advice, but I don't always take my own advice. That happens a lot. Hey, so what do you guys make of Randall's black pill? None of us are getting out of here alive. That is pretty dark, man.
I think it's kind of on par with his character. I mean, just based on everything he's seeing this season. I mean, Randall, and this has been Randall's kind of thing, all season 3, where he's kind of he's even trying to let Boyd know that I think there's worse fates here than death. And after everything Randall has been through, between the cicada coma, getting possessed by these cicadas at the end of season 2, and then in season 3 being left behind, being left to die in his eyes by Boyd, to only get ravaged by these monsters, I could totally understand why Randall's getting to a point where he feels like there's just no hope. He's losing all of his hope, and it's because he kind of has good reason to after everything he's been through, I thought. But yeah,
I'm all for giving Jim his props, but honestly, he's been an ass for 3 seasons, and it's one good episode where he's been nice. So, I mean, let's see where this goes, man.
Yeah. Oh, Ravener's rebooting. He'll be back in a minute. No problem, man. Take your time. We'll be here. Yeah, and again, I guess we have to be. I mean, we can't just shower Jim with praise because he spent one episode, doing the right thing. That I totally understand. But I also thought it was at least important to recognize the little bit of the character growth that we're seeing, him display.
Yeah.
But no,
I hope he
it's
keeps it up, man.
that's going to be the question, right? Is he going to be able to keep this up? Are we going to see Jim be able to kind of actually step into this role where he is a little bit more understanding, or will we start to see him regress again in the next episode? I suppose that's possible as well. Yeah, it's I was just in isolation in this episode solely. I was a little bit impressed with Jim's character development and his growth. He was handling things a lot better than I thought he would have, at least. So kudos to him there. And of course, again, the way that he approached Tabitha later on as well, where he kind of finally agrees to kind of just stand behind her and help her with, he knows that she's desperate to get these answers. He knows that Tabitha is not going to be able to rest until she figures out what the heck is going on. So at least now he is kind of being a little bit more of that supportive role, as opposed to always trying to change Tabitha to his liking. So again, it's small, but it is showing signs of growth. But yeah,
one character we haven't given props to for their acting abilities, Randall. I think he carries scenes very well, man. Like he always feels real. He comes across like a dick when he wants to, but he's got a little bit of softness to him as well.
He does. And again, I think Randall's always been a pretty intriguing character because, yes, we've seen that he's rash, he's abrasive, he's selfish at times. But we've also seen that other side to him where he is very capable of being selfless, and he's capable of, of some heroic acts every once in a while. Whether it's him kind of, leaping before looking in terms of helping Jim dig Tabitha out in the beginning when he first arrives. The small part he played in episode 4 in getting the tools to Boyd and Jim to get Tabitha freed. We have seen these instances where, Randall, there is a human under there. There is actual humanity buried underneath the surface. And that's kind of how Randall's character is. It's that hard exterior, but really he's got that humanity deep down. It's just, it takes a certain kind of circumstance to kind of get him to pull it out of himself, I guess. But no, Luna asks, speaking of Randall, if you had to guess, what's Randall's backstory for $2? And thank you so much for the 2. And yeah, I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but part of me wouldn't be too surprised if Randall had some sort of maybe military background or something like that. Just based on, the way that he kind of carries himself, the haircut, the quickness to anger, the alpha mentality, the mentality that he feels like he can do everything on his own. Part of me wouldn't be surprised if he did have some sort of military background where maybe he was even drummed out of the military because he couldn't quite hack it kind of character. I could totally see Jim being a dishonorably discharged service member maybe. But yeah, I don't know. It's really hard to kind of pinpoint who Randall was before he landed here because we know nothing about his backstory. But what about you, Rob? If you had to guess, what kind of person do you think Randall was before he arrived here?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he was a vet that maybe got discharged or maybe went AWOL, something along those lines. I wouldn't be surprised.
Ooh. AWOL even. Okay, interesting. And welcome back, Ravener.
Thank
Cascade was asking an interesting question. I'd love to get your take on it as well. In terms of, because we know absolutely nothing about Randall's backstory up until this point, other than the fact that he was apparently traveling to go give his niece or nephew a birthday gift, the drone that we see in season 2. And I mentioned, based on the haircut, the way he carries himself, I wouldn't be too surprised if he was maybe a dishonorably discharged serviceman at some point. Maybe he was an ex-Marine that got kind of drummed out of the military because he was not disciplined enough or couldn't hack it. I could totally see him having that kind of background. But what about you? I mean, do you have any kind of ideas as to what kind of person you think Randall might have been before he landed here in Fromville?
Yeah, that seems to make a lot of sense because he doesn't seem he's just shy of being like the petty criminal the guy, but he just doesn't have those other tendencies like the general shittiness or the general whatever. I don't even know how you would explain it, the general crookedness of a petty criminal, like somebody who was in and out of jail or something kind of doesn't seem to be interested in drugs or alcohol necessarily. Maybe smoked a little with Julie, but who hasn't?
And it seemed like that was more medicinal than anything because he kind of just wanted to feel better, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe I don't know, like and this might be one of those guys that's like, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, we'll never know, so it's pure speculation. But I'm not really picking up a lot of education, a lot of necessarily higher education. Not that that means anything, because I mean, some of the most degreed people I know are also very stupid in the real world. He seems very grounded, though. He seems very blue collary, in a very practical kind. He's blue collar in the way that somebody blue collar is very centered on things that have immediate effect. I would say to an extent. I mean, I would consider myself blue collar. Centered on things. I'm going to worry more about things that affect me immediately than I am about global warming or or something. I'm more worried about property taxes than I am about global warming. That kind of stuff. And he I think you could be spot on between the attitude, between the haircut and the general demeanor. He might have been somebody who washed out of the military.
When he arrived here in Fromville, he had his gun with him when he arrived here in Fromville. Most servicemen usually have a gun with them.
Yeah, or he could just be. I mean, he could be a. He could be, a landscaper or something who likes
easily could be, yeah,
hunting
construction worker or some shit.
He didn't see. Yeah, I mean, again, one of our earliest introductions to him was him leaping in to help dig Jim out of the collapsed Matthews house. So he doesn't have an aversion to getting his hands dirty. It wasn't even a question,
Yeah. That's the thing. He does kind of have that natural instinct at times to help others, and even at risk to himself. He was very much putting himself at risk when he chose to go into that collapsed house and try and dig Tabitha out. But like you said, he kind of just leaped before looking. So he does kind of have that instinct within him to be capable of some heroic acts every once in a while. But then again, he also has that other side to him where he's rash, he's abrasive, he's kind of quick to anger, he's fearful. I know he kind of portrays himself like he's not afraid, but usually people that portray themselves like that are usually the most afraid sometimes. But
he looks terrified, man, to me.
Yeah, he's an interesting enigma, if nothing else, in terms of who this character was before he arrived here. But one thing I thought was incredibly interesting, not interesting, but very impressive, is his American accent, because the actor that plays Randall is actually he's British. And you'd never tell just from watching From. Like, if you hadn't seen him, if you hadn't heard him in any interviews or heard him like actually speaking in his regular voice, you'd never know that he was a Brit. I thought he was American, just based on his accent. Again, sometimes British don't always pull off the best American accent. Some can pull it off very well, don't get me wrong, but I look back at shows like Sons of Anarchy, where Jax Teller was playing the main character as Jax. He's of course British, and you could so tell that he was not American. You could really tell that he was British. It slipped through every once in a while in some of his cadence and some of his dialect every once in a while. But I was kind of shocked to learn that Randall, the actor playing Randall, is actually British, because he's got a pretty good American accent, and that's not always easy to nail. So that was good.
I knew you were going to bring up Sons of Anarchy as soon as you said that. It's like, yeah.
Anyone who's watched Sons of Anarchy, you must have noticed it, right? It's like you can just tell. Like, you can tell Charlie Hunnam was just not that good at an American accent. It was very, you could tell.
But Andrew Lincoln in Walking Dead did pretty good, except for calling Carl Coral.
Coral. Yeah, no, Andrew Lincoln's another one. He was actually pretty good, and that's a little bit even tougher, because it's one thing to mimic just a regular kind of like a Midwestern American accent, but to mimic that kind of Southern drawl accent, that's even more difficult, I would imagine. If you have like a British accent or a foreign accent, trying to nail that Southern accent, is probably one of the more difficult ones to nail between the southern ones and, I hate to say it, but our accent, the accents that we have up here up north between New York and Boston. Like, I've seen so many actors play roles that they were meant to be native New Yorkers or native Bostonians, and they very rarely get the accent right. They never get it right. But but yeah,
I couldn't. I mean, I could identify them, but I couldn't replicate them. I know. Michael Bancroft brings up that Rob has a very like a spot on, accurate American accent.
Rob's got a decent
I
one.
see.
Yeah, we all sound like like Foghorn Leghorn.
Foghorn Leghorn. Yeah.
Oh shit. But yeah, that was kind of a shock when I heard it, because I saw a clip a few months ago, and I always meant to bring this up a while back, but I just always forgot about it on stream. But I saw a clip of him on the season 3 red carpet premiere, and he's talking about the show, and I'm like, holy shit, Randall's freaking British. I never would have guessed. Because he does a pretty good American accent, and I don't know. I guess that's just small things that I kind of look out for in certain productions, because sometimes it's just very easy to tell when someone is trying to do an American accent where they don't usually speak that way. But I couldn't even tell in the slightest where Randall was concerned. So kudos to him for pulling off the American accent. Awesome.
I never would have guessed. Yeah, honestly, I truly didn't know till you just mentioned it.
Yeah, it was a shock to me. It was definitely a shock to me when I first learned it as well. But yeah, I give him some props. And yes, I agree with this comment that I saw earlier as well. I really hope that we find out whatever was shuffling around in there in the final episode. But part of me is really getting a feeling that we're not going to. And this is the problem when you have all of these different storylines kind of running. Like you mentioned earlier, Ravener, you sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes in ensemble shows like this, the season will start off with what appears to be a bunch of different individual storylines. But usually by the time you get to the end of the season, you'll start to see a lot of those storylines kind of converging into one big one or one or two big ones. And I feel like we started to see a little bit of that with Tabitha's storyline kind of merging into Victor's a little bit and Jade's a little bit, with the kimono creatures storyline kind of meshing in with Fatima's a little bit. But yeah, when you have an ensemble like this, you have all of these different storylines that you need to get to, it's tough at times. So I'm very much wondering, how much are they going to be able to wrap up in the season 3 finale, and how much are they going to carry over to season 4? And this is one of the big questions I've been wondering as well, Amy. Will we actually find out what was shuffling around out there outside Cannibal Village? Will we find that out this season? Or is that something that they're going to save for season 4? And I guess I'll ask everybody in the chat and on the panel as well. Do you guys think we will find out what was knocking out there at Cannibal Village? Do you think we'll get that answer this season? Or do you think that's something they're going to push over to season 4?
No, I don't see how, because it seems like the next episode is going to be centered around Fatima and the baby and whatever the hell's happening there. So I just don't know how you get a conversation or a scene where that comes up. Like, they're not going to go back out to the cabin overnight and then talk about it again. So I just don't see how it would happen.
Yeah. They literally tied up one rope, the rope storyline, and gave us 3 or 4 more ropes.
3 or 4 new ropes, a bunch of new threads that are weaving.
But they better not shelf this, though. Like, this needs to be addressed, because they've referenced it like 3 or 4 times on different occasions. We need answers to this. Like, if it doesn't happen tomorrow, it's better. Oh, not tomorrow. The next episode, it better happen next season.
Yeah. What dragged the tent? What was out there? What was going around the cabin? Yeah, they did that twice. All that stuff, and plus the abandoned storyline of we're gonna trap one of these MFers and make them talk. All this. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that they brought up, and hopefully they do. I mean, hopefully they will in season 4. And Jeremy, you said this. We always, before the show, we talked very, very briefly, and I was like, oh shit, because a lot of the stuff that you were saying, I had in my bullet points. I mean, number 10 better be a banger, because I was expecting a lot more. Expecting a lot more in the lead up to the finale, and I thought, well, maybe, I'm not even sure if I can say that. Like 9 and 10 being Revelations 1 and Revelations 2, or part 2 or whatever, will it in retrospect be part of should we watch it as part of a single larger episode? Maybe. I guess I'm hoping that it'll work out that way. Maybe it'll make more sense when we're able to watch all of season 3, together in one group of episodes. Maybe it'll make more sense that way. But right now, man, they really need to deliver the wow for this last episode. And I'm not even sure how they would do it at this point. What they could do to fix it, because it started so friggin' strong, man. 1 and 2 was incredible, and I think I talked about this, when we were doing the watch parties and the after show and stuff. And a lot of it has to do with perspective and what you want to derive from the show, or what it draws you to the show in the first place. And for me, it was, I love the survival horror aspect of it. I love the jump scares. I love the monsters, being menacing, trying to figure out how they operate, how we could avoid them, how this, that, and the other. And I know other people are really, the mystery part of it, the mystery box aspect, figuring out the overarching explanation for what is Fromville, how does it work. For some people, that's catnip for them. But for me, man, I was really hooked, and that's why I was so hyped in episodes 1 and 2, because it was so exciting, and it was a return to what drew me into the show in the first place in season 1 that kind of tailed off a little bit in season 2. And now we had it in spades again here at the beginning of season 3. And then we just started plateauing, man. It was like, a lot of talking. And I don't know, there are some explanations. And I mean, I see people getting mad at other people for wanting more explanations. And, I guess they're entitled to do that, to do that as well. Yeah.
And that's one thing we always try to preach. I mean, don't ever let anybody tell you how to consume a show. I mean, if you're going into a show and you want to learn more about the mystery and just the mystery, there's nothing wrong with that. And don't let anybody try to convince you otherwise. How you consume a show is totally up to you. And that's one thing we've always, tried to preach here. Everybody's free to kind of consume a show in any way they want. And everybody gets something different out of the show. Like you mentioned, Raven, or some people's motivations for watching the show might be totally different from somebody else's motivations, like whether it's the mystery aspect that you're focused on, or the horror element you're focused on, or the human element you're focused on, and the drama and the characterization of the journey that these characters are going on. It really is a matter of, like you said, perspective and what you're hoping to get out of the show. But yeah, never let anybody tell you that you're doing something wrong if you want more answers. That's for sure.
It feels like though, like the last 4 or 5 episodes and this is me being a bit harsh, has been nothing's happened for 90% of it, and then the last 10%, all the stuff has happened. They better not do that with this episode coming up. Like, stuff has to happen from the get-go.
They jingle the keys. They jingle the keys in the last 10 minutes, and it kind of distracts us from what we had seen in the previous, sometimes 40 minutes. Some of these episodes have been super short as far as runtime, but you're right. I mean, they kind of like amble around, and some of it is necessary. I'll concede some of it is necessary. Some of it is positioning people where they need to be for XYZ to happen, putting people where they need to be, having interactions, having certain plot points take place, certain events take place, so that people can react to it and whatnot. But they have been really building up to these either reveals, like Fatima drinking Nikki's blood, like getting Nikki's blood. I think the episode prior to that was her eating the veggies, which was a creepy and like another these great finishes. But yeah, the episode, the lead up to that does kind of amble around, and again, it's way too many characters and like interactions that they have to at least check in with, address, just to get them to move forward.
Feel like there's too many characters. I that's something I've kind of even felt a little bit. It just feels like there's too many characters and just not enough time to get through all of them. Because again, we only have 10 episode seasons. It's one thing when you had a cast the size of Lost, it was manageable because you had 24 episodes every single season, so you had more than enough time to kind of dive into each and every single one of them. But a show like this that only has 10 episodes, and like you said, the episodes themselves, they're not really long. You know, some of the episodes are only 40, 43 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, in some instances, it does feel like there may be sometimes too many characters. So I can see what you mean.
And that's what happened. I mean, Colony House Massacre, you know, say it knocked out 25 people and 25 people arrived on the bus. Okay, well, we're back to zero. Not really, because how many of the bus people became recurring characters in the show? None of the people that died at Colony House. I mean, other than like maybe Trudy. Trudy was really
Trudy was like a caller, even though I wouldn't even consider Trudy a secondary character. She had like 2 lines of dialogue in the whole show.
Yeah,
we
just
lost
like
Father
Pornstash.
Cautry.
Yeah, just like Kevin.
We lost Father Cautry, and then we gained Randall, Elgin, Marielle, Bacta. It's like we're losing one character and you're gaining 3 others. Same thing this season, where we're gaining, Samantha Brown's Acosta and Henry. So yeah, I mean, at times it does feel like there's maybe a few too many characters to manage, considering that they only have 10 episodes.
What do you think we're actually going to see in the final episode of this season?
At this point, I'm not quite sure. I've tried so hard to stay away from some of the leaks and spoilers because I know there's leaks out there for the final episode, and I at this point I have no idea what is going to be coming. At this point, I've kind of given up guessing what is not given up guessing what is going to be coming, but I'm kind of at the point where I'm along for the ride, and I'm enjoying the ride. I'm not going to act like I'm not enjoying the show. I'm actually loving the show. Yes, there has been some moments in season 3 that probably could have been handled a little bit differently, where the plot could have been advanced a little quicker. I totally understand that. But for me, I mean, I again, it's like what Ravener brought up earlier. I guess it's all a matter of your perception and what you're hoping to get out of watching the show. Like for me, I'm not really in a big rush to get answers because usually these mystery box style of storytelling, the answers are not going to come quick, and they're never going to come when you want them. And I kind of learned that lesson the hard way from Lost and Twin Peaks and all of the other great mystery shows out there as well. So for me, I guess I kind of learned my lesson from those previous shows that I'm not really in a huge rush to get answers. I'm kind of more in a mindset where I'm just really enjoying the journey that these characters are going on. Mixed in with the horror elements, like you mentioned earlier, Ravener, the horror elements was one of the things that drew me to the show super early on as well, especially in that very first episode, like seeing that they had the balls to kill Megan off in the way that they did in the first 10 minutes of the first episode. That told me, okay, this is going to be a show that has some really good, like properly scary horror elements. And yes, we haven't got quite as many of those towards the back half of season 3. I mean, I suppose you can say we have with some of the kimono creatures and some of this other stuff, but for me, the monsters are what the biggest draw was for me. Like, these monsters are so unique. And in terms of they're kind of unlike anything we've ever really seen before. So I was really hoping that season 3 would kind of lean a little bit heavier into the monsters. Let's bring the monsters back into the forefront and make them the kind of not the main focal point, but at least one of the main constant threats. And of course, they are a constant threat. But we've gone quite a few episodes in the back half of season 3 with little to no monster action at all. So for me, the monsters are a huge draw on the show. So I hope that's something that they can dive into a little bit more in season 4. Like, let's give us some more proper monster action. I think that's why I love season 1 as much as I do. Season 1 was just non-stop monster action, and it was just so well executed, so well written, so well acted. So I'm hoping we get a little bit more from the monsters in the finale. So if that's my one hope, more than anything, I'm not really, whatever answers we get are going to be great, but I'm not like in a rush to get any of the big answers. But I would really like to see the monsters kind of have a really strong, footing in this final episode where they make a really big impact, because the monsters were, again, one of the main draws for me, on top of just the human element of the show and just seeing the journey that these characters are going on, and seeing just some of the kind of the really keen insight into the just basic human condition that these writers kind of throw at us in terms of yes, this is definitely a mystery show, but it's so much more than that. It's a horror show. It's a human show. It's a drama show. And I really love the aspect of just asking some of those basic questions like, what does fear do to somebody? What does prolonged trauma do to somebody? What does isolation do to somebody? And this show answers that part, that show scratches that itch for me incredibly well. I absolutely love seeing the human element of this show and seeing just some of the struggles that these humans are going through, the trials that they get put through. Are they going to be able to come together and solve some of these things? Are they going to fall deeper into chaos? So the human element of the show, I feel, has been just great. I've been loving it. But yes, I would like to see a little bit more monster action because the monsters were a huge draw for me early on.
I think it is for everybody because I mean we have a not I wouldn't say unique position, but we have a very good eye view of it because we do at the end of every episode do a rating, and without exception, the episodes with the monsters invariably are rated higher than any other episode. Even like the Henry, like the Henry Victor reunion, like no matter how strong one of the daytime scenes are, no matter how strong the acting and what development happens, I think, I mean, what were the highest rated episodes of the season? 1 and 2, and then the ambulance.
4.
Yeah. It's always stronger when your pulse starts pounding, and that's the thing is they do it so well. They step away from the third person view and they give us some of the immediacy, some of the danger, some of the peril. We get to see the characters. We don't have time to process it. We don't have time to think it through. And we see the characters in that same situation where they don't have time to think it through. They're in immediate danger and they have to do something. We don't have a chance to step back and second guess them and be like, oh, well, if I were there, I would have done that. Why didn't he just do it? We didn't have that. And those are the strongest episodes and they do them so well. And I remember, man, in episode 1, episode 2, I was saying it's up to the writers because we already know that they can go 96 days if everybody follows the rules and everybody goes in at night, locks the doors, don't open the windows, don't go outside. You can go 96 days with nobody dying. We know that's established. It's up to the writers to contrive situations where the townsfolk and the monsters are forced to interact, and they did it awesome. It's like, oh shit, now the livestock are in danger. The livestock are loose. The people have to go out and interact with the monsters. And then of course, Tian Chen gets killed. Friggin' Ethan's bolting out the door. He sees his goat and Ethan's bolting out the door. Yeah. These are contrived situations that put the townsfolk who should be safe. They have to either accidentally or voluntarily give up their safety to interact with the monsters, and then we get that immediate peril, that danger, that pulse pounding action, and that's where it's so strong. And I was like, well, yeah, it'll be up to them, and we said, oh, they can't kill somebody every episode, or they can't do that every episode, but they haven't done it in a long time now. It feels like a very, very long. And I guess it's been over a month, I guess, between 4 and 9, episode 4 and episode 9. It's been over a month since we've seen anything really pulse pounding. They've been down in the caves a time or two for a little jump scare with Victor and Henry, but beyond that, man, it's just like
I will say that scene I fucking loved, though. I actually really, really loved. That was actually one of the only scenes in season 3 that did kind of give me that feeling. It was just that quick little line of dialogue we get from that freaking lady monster down there. And I don't know if it's just me, but I just feel like they're always way scarier when they're in their human form.
We have to go. Victor, if you keep coming down here, one of these days, we'll make you stay.
Go! Go, go, go!
I don't know if we will get monsters, man, though, because surely they're going to wrap up Fatima's baby this
well,
episode.
We're definitely going to get monsters, just based on the episode 9 trailer, and it looks like we're getting new monsters that we've never even seen before. Actually, there's actually 2 monsters in the episode 10 trailer that I've never seen before in any episode. ever. And up until this point, just about every monster we've seen in other scenes. They tend to kind of use the same extras for these monsters over and over again to kind of give the audience a familiar feel for who these monsters are. But in the episode 10 trailer, there's 2 monsters that I've never seen before.
Cool.
But how big a role are they going to play, though? Because like you mentioned, you've got the Fatima storyline that you still need to wrap up. You got all these storylines that you still need to wrap up. So how big a part are the monsters going to play in the final episode? I'm hoping it's something decent, but yeah, there's a lot to get through and not a whole lot of time to get through it, which is another reason that leads me to believe that they're probably going to carry some of these storylines over to season 4. And I get the feeling they're not going to be able to wrap every single one up just in this season alone. The Fatima one, I imagine they have to wrap that up in season 3. That's not a storyline.
They've been talking about it all season. They have to wrap it up.
And that's the thing. Some of the overarching storylines that have been kind of continuing season to season, those are the ones that I kind of expect them to maybe carry over to the next season. But when you're talking about these just very singular season story arcs, like Fatima and the baby, like Elgin and the kimono creature, like some of these more singular storylines, those are the ones that you do hope that they wrap up in entirety by the time you get to the finale, while also setting up some new ones for season 4 and beyond. So at this point, I'm very intrigued and very much interested to see how this final episode is going to look. But how is it going to be structured? Where are they going to prioritize screen time? What storylines are they going to prioritize going into this finale? So I'm actually very interested to see what this final episode is going to look like. I'm very excited for it, I must say. But I do wonder if
do you have the 10? Do you have the preview of 10?
I do. Yeah, I do. I believe I do. Yeah. Let me get to this and then we will play it. Sorry, go ahead.
Just before you get this, I wonder if the monster, because they're going to have to, Elgin is going to have to go back to Fatima. Ellis is going to have to follow him. They're going to have that whole interaction. I wonder if that trickles over into night, and that's where you get the new monsters from around. They're all trying to get into that cellar. That would be pretty sick.
Maybe. We got the Real Rebel Eric for 5. Thank you so much, Real Rebel Eric. Possible Kimono Lady wanted possible that Kimono Lady wanted a baby because she sacrificed her baby. Fatima will die and Ellis will pull a Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt, what's in the box? And kill Elgin. That would be freaking awesome. That actually would be really cool if we see Ellis kind of, because Ellis hasn't really been given a whole lot to do, I feel, on the show. Like, he's had some interesting scenes, but the character of Ellis, he hasn't really been given, a whole lot to really kind of sink his teeth into. That would be a really great scene that we see him kind of diving into. And I was not hoping, but I was always wondering if at some point Ellis was going to find himself in the exact same shoes as Boyd, whereas in season 1 we found out that Boyd was forced to kill his own wife to save his son. And I always thought it would be an interesting kind of an interesting role reversal, if nothing else. And we've seen that the show is very keen on events and history repeating. I thought it would be very interesting if at some point this time Ellis is put in that very same situation where he's faced with the choice of killing Fatima to save my father. So I always thought that would be a really interesting story arc for a character like Ellis. I'm not sure that that's the way they're going to go. I also like this idea, though, with Ellis going full on Brad Pitt, what's in the box? That would be good too. But yeah. In terms of the kimono creature wanting a baby because she sacrificed hers, I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case. And part of us even wondered if the kimono creature was maybe even one of the original parents who sacrificed her children and became one of the Ankui children even. So yeah, it's very interesting to see what this kimono creature's motives are. And I also like your theory a lot, Rob, the one that you kind of came up with that very particular Japanese spirit, the pregnant Japanese spirit that fits this character very well.
Yeah. I can't wait to see what happens. I'm pumped, man.
Yeah. Should be interesting to see how this all plays out. What exactly is Fatima going to give birth to? Is she going to survive the pregnancy? How exactly will the kimono creature act? Will the kimono creature just try and steal this baby and run off? Like, how is this whole thing going to play out? We definitely still need to see that, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. And the kimono creature, I mean, she just seems to be filling out more and more and more. Look at how freaking like close to almost human she looks in this scene compared to at the beginning of the season. She was all sunken in, like practically all like just shriveled up skin. And it seems like the stronger this baby is getting, the more filled out this kimono creature is getting, almost like she's getting stronger as this baby is getting stronger. And we've seen that she's clearly capable of interacting with people on a physical level. And that was one question I was wondering, is this kimono creature just a entity spirit type thing, or is she actually capable of a physical form? And the way that she's kind of holding Fatima down here, clearly she's capable of interacting with the physical world. She's not just full on spirit. So it almost seems like she's been getting stronger and stronger as this baby has been growing. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. Will Fatima survive? What is she going to be giving birth to? How is this all going to play out? I don't know, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing it. For sure. For sure. Let's see what else we got. What more do with know at the end of season 3 that we what more do we know at the end of season 3 that we knew at the end of season 2? It'd be interesting to go over the list. And that is something that I always really enjoy doing when we do our rewatches. And this is something we do every season. Once season 3 is officially over, after we've seen the final episode, we will be going back and rewatching every single episode from the beginning, right from episode 1, season 1, and hopefully we can see all of the things that we can maybe pick up on that we didn't pick up on the first go around. Because as Mike is very well aware, he's writing a very similar kind of mystery box story right now with his own comic book series, The Lucent. So if you guys do like mystery box style of storytelling, I would suggest check out Michael Bancroft's The Lucent at thelucent.com. Really, really awesome comic book if you're into the mystery style of storytelling. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of stuff we can pick up on when we go back and rewatch the entire series. Now that we do have more context after seeing season 3 in its entirety, and hopefully after getting something definitive in this last episode, which I'm hoping we do, it's going to be very interesting to go back from the very beginning and see what other new little clues are we going to be able to pick up on now that we didn't even have context to look for early on. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of those differences, Mike, and that's definitely something we're going to be doing once season 3 ends, returning to season 1, diving deep in from the very first episode, and seeing some of this other stuff that we can pick up on.
Plants and Herbs says the baby is Thomas. Could you imagine?
Man.
That would be hilarious.
That would be nuts. That would be pretty nutty. That would be pretty nutty. And awesome. There is the link right there for Michael Bancroft's thelucent.com. Yeah, awesome comic book. Really is an awesome book. The boy in white holds the key. It seems like it. It seems like he's holding the key, but it seems like he is very stingy in terms of sharing that key with anybody.
That was annoying. That was so annoying.
I mean, it's the boy in white basically told Victor, figure it out yourself, pretty much. And it was like, oh man, fuck. Come on, boy in white, give us a little bit more than that. But maybe he will. Maybe we'll see the boy in white kind of have a change of heart and maybe give them something more definitive. And yes, we'll be doing some rewatch parties. Absolutely. Right when season 3 ends, we'll be going back and rewatching some of the episodes right from the beginning, and again, seeing on what other things we can maybe pick up on that we missed the first go around. So there will definitely be some rewatches coming in our future. Awesome stuff. All right. Let's dive into this now. Let's play this episode 10 trailer. Now, I've only watched it once, but it doesn't really give you a whole lot. And in terms of some of these trailers have been pretty spoilery in the past, but I will say it seems like they're playing this final episode as close to the chest as they possibly can. I know there's leaks out there for it, which I've been lucky enough to stay away from up until this point, and I'm going to continue to do that. I really don't want to see any of the leaks. I know some people don't mind spoilers, and that's totally cool. But we are going to check out the episode 10. Oh, but first, we got one more. We've got T-Bone Beats for 5. Thank you so much, T-Bone. Just realized the kimono creature is the baby. Fatima is giving birth to her. Now, and I actually really like that theory. And because, there's been some really interesting theories going around this season in terms of what the heck is going on with this kimono creature and connection to Fatima and the baby. I actually really do like that theory. I also like the theory that the kimono creature, I did like the theory in the beginning anyway, that the kimono creature was actually what Fatima was herself was going to turn into after giving birth to this baby. But no, I kind of like both of those theories, T-Bone. That's a good one. And who knows, maybe that's the case. Maybe the kimono creature is giving birth to herself. Maybe she's giving birth to her physical form. That could be an interesting kind of plot twist, if nothing else.
Yeah. In the Discord, everything's Martin, so maybe the baby's Martin.
Maybe the baby's, yeah, that's been the new meme. Everybody is Martin. And I even said, hell, Eloise is really Martin. Everybody knows that.
I said the rope is Martin.
Have you seen the video of Fatima reacting to the fact she's Martin on social medias?
No.
I
didn't know. Hilarious.
I saw the meme. I saw just the regular meme of it, like the meme that was put together, but I didn't see her reaction to the meme. But it's the meme in and of itself was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. Oh man, we got Crazy Mad for $9.99. Thank you so much, Crazy Mad, for the $9.99, my friend. The trapdoor in Fatima's chamber can only lead to the underground tunnels. Absolutely, that's exactly where I think it's going to lead as well. I don't trust out what she's telling Elgin and what's up with Tabby's new powers. You guys are fantastic, beautiful people. Thank you so much for that, Crazy Mad. Very much appreciate you. But no, that was kind of my first instinct as well. As soon as we saw that kind of underground door, now obviously it instantly made me think of Lost, and like, holy shit, they found the underground hatch from Lost. I mean, we're seeing so many similarities between Lost and From, which is kind of funny. But no, that was my instinct as well. I mean, just considering where it's placed, they're already underground, being in the root cellar itself. And now if there's another door in that ground going deeper, further down, I mean, it can only lead to the caves, I would imagine. So yeah, I think that trap door we will see that it leads to the underground caves underneath the town. I do think that's the case. And what's going on with Tabby? Man, the whole fandom has been asking ourselves that question ever since the episode aired, and we'll definitely dive into that one a little bit here as well. But yeah, I think the caves are coming when it comes to that door.
Yeah,
indeed.
I think the thing I derive a lot from most of these trailers, more than anything, is just a roll call of who's going to be in the episode.
Yeah, it gives you. I mean, well, some of them reveal a little too much at times. But some of them are kind of perfect in terms of revealing just enough. And I know we've talked about this many times. Sometimes the trailers will be very uniquely structured to make you think this is going to happen when really something totally different is actually happening. So they're actually very clever in the way that they edit some of these trailers to make us think, to really kind of, give us that sleight of hand feeling, to make us think this is going to happen. And it ends up being just completely different than we originally thought.
Oh yeah, half a second showing Jade holding the violin, and and people think that they'll be playing it like the organ in Goonies. It has to be certain notes will open a door, that kind of stuff. And it very well may be true. It absolutely may be true. Or it may just be another completely out of sequence thing. But let's take a look and
yeah, let's take a look at this episode 10 trailer. And don't tell me I don't have it loaded up. Oh my God, I don't have it loaded up. Sorry. It is up on my channel if you guys want to check it out. Or Ravener, if you're able to share your screen and you can grab it from my channel and pull it up, I'll play it.
Yeah, give me a fraction of a second here.
Yeah, take your time. Take your time. No problem. Man, I could have sworn I loaded it up, but I still see the episode 9 trailer here. All right, yeah, give us a second. We will play the episode.
I found a screen grab of Fatima reacting to the Martin is her meme.
Oh, geez. Yeah, this is the one I saw. Yeah, this is the one I saw. This is fucking hilarious. Yeah, I love this meme that's been popping up in the fandom now, where now all of a sudden everybody's Martin, and Martin is everybody else.
Yeah.
That's been a funny meme.
Are we going to talk about Smiley, Jeremy, and the running?
Definitely. We're definitely going to talk about that for sure.
Okay, good.
For sure. Here we go. All right, here we go, guys. The episode 10 trailer, the trailer for the season 3 finale. Here we go.
Need sound.
We all, baby is born. We all, once the baby is born, we all get to go home.
You need to decide right now who you are.
Padre!
This place, it doesn't give. It takes. Are you okay?
New monsters.
No, I don't think any of us are gonna be.
You said that you were going to let this place break you. This place is one.
This place has already won. Father Cautry telling Boyd that this place has successfully broken him. Man, oh man, oh man. But there we go. At least we're getting another appearance of Cautry, which will be pretty cool to see. It's always fun to see Cautry.
Yeah, I'll play it again, just because it was so quick, and then I can go from point to point as people point out. Here we go. One more time for everyone.
Once the baby is born, we all get to go home.
You need to decide right now who you are.
This place, it doesn't give. It takes. Are you okay?
No, I don't think any of us are gonna be.
You said that you were going to let this place break you. This place is one.
Man.
Yeah.
This place has won. And
Look
in a
at
sense,
that.
Father Cautry is a little bit right in a sense. I mean, this place really has, maybe not fully on broken Boyd, but this place has definitely changed Boyd. We're seeing a little bit of a different Boyd towards the back half of this season 3. It's not the same kind of confident, cocksure of himself Boyd that we've seen in the past. And I do think he is starting to second guess himself in certain areas. And I think that is very much a product of the just constant psychological manipulation that this place has been putting him through. And here we have Cautry asking him, who are you really? Who do you want to be? So I'm looking forward to seeing that scene between Boyd and Cautry. But the beginning of the trailer is pretty interesting. It looks like we got Boyd, Donna, and somebody else coming up the stairs getting ready to confront Elgin. And we hear Elgin saying, once the baby is born, we're all get to go home. So clearly at some point, it comes out that Elgin did this. And with Sarah being behind them like that, I mean, could it potentially be possible that Sarah finds out that it was Elgin that took Fatima?
Oh, she's the spirit bloodhound. Yeah.
Exactly.
She sniffed him out.
Maybe she heard something else, maybe she got a message from one of the more friendly spirits. Obviously, the voices that were communicating with Sarah in episode 9 certainly were not of the benevolent variety. They were a little bit more malevolent, considering they were taunting Sarah about Boyd and Ellis not being able to find Fatima in time. But maybe she'll get in contact with another spirit that will actually give her some better information, where maybe Sarah will help lead Boyd and Donna to Elgin.
Yeah, and
awesome.
It was interesting to see. The first time that she gets voices again, and they are evil. They're the bad ones, taunting Boyd and Ellis. So.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what goes on there, and I'm at least glad that they're utilizing Sarah again. That was one thing I've been wondering up until last week's episode. It's like, does Sarah even have this ability anymore? Considering how sparingly that she uses it. And even she says that, the voices reached out to me last night for the first time since the ruins. We haven't seen her use this ability since the very end of season 2. And even in season 2, she hasn't used that ability at all until the very last episode. So I'm glad that they are at least kind of touching back on this very special connection that Sarah has to this place. Because again, Sarah's connection to this place is incredibly unique in the sense of she's the only one that can do what she can do. There's no past version of Sarah. We have a past version of Jade. We see all of these characters that mirror previous characters from other timelines, but Sarah's it. Sarah is the only one of her kind that is able to kind of communicate with these spirits. Yeah. So I'm glad that they haven't thrown that out, that they are kind of bringing that back into the storyline, because again, her connection to this place could be, utilized in a much better way if they just put it to the right use, like Boyd did at the end of season 2. gave them really good information about the entity that they never would have gotten otherwise.
Yeah, and if it is if it is the good voices tipping her off in episode 10, that'll be nice because we've seen it happen. I mean, she definitely gets hit with the evil ones, the ones that told her kill the boy, all this other stuff. Then we know that the good ones were the ones that guided her hand when she drew the thing for Father Khatri. Okay, then there were some more bad ones, and then we saw. She at least channeled a good version of Abby, not the physical version, of course. The one that we saw, or the visual version, was, I think, the entity. Every version of Abby that we've seen, I think, is the entity evil, trying to manipulate. But
I agree.
It was good Abby. It was real Abby that she channeled when she told Boyd about fish and loaves to kind of like corroborate her story. So it'd be nice to see the good spirits check in, and I love it when they write this in, you know, a little bit of balance, or a little like if she's getting contacted by the evil ones, whether she wants to or not, then it's good to check in. I mean, if you're going to check in with Bacta, if you're going to check in with Clara, if you're going to check in with other minor characters, you have to check in with the good spirits too. And I think this might be the good spirits checking in.
I think so. I think that could potentially be the case. And yeah, like you said, I mean, she's been kind of pulled back and forth in all of these different directions, especially early on in season 1, where she's just being completely tortured and manipulated, very much in the same way that Elgin is being manipulated this season. Pretty much the exact same manipulation tactic in terms of, I promise you we can get you and everybody out of here if you just do these evil ass things that we need you to do. But yeah, Sarah, Sarah seemed to break free of that. At least she started to at least realize that these things were lying to her, that these things were manipulating her. And now she's at the point now where she realizes nothing gives here. It only takes. I wouldn't be too surprised if she's talking to Elgin in that scene, or maybe she's trying to convince Elgin, hey, I've been where you were. I've been down this path. I thought the exact same thing you did, that if I only listened to these spirits, they would get us all home. And look where that got me. So maybe she's trying to kind of get through to Elgin to get him to realize that no, nothing here gives. It only takes.
That presupposes Elgin. Well, unless Elgin is just walking around the town, that's a good point. Because I was like, where they're in the town somewhere. So where are they that she would be telling that to him? But then again, he has free reign. I mean, right now nobody's suspicious of him. So yeah, they might be. He might be in the clinic trying to grab some more drugs or something, some more Band-Aids for his foot.
Yeah, it's very it's going to be interesting to see how they, because it seems like they are going to obviously find out about Elgin. I mean, just based on the dialogue we hear Elgin state when he says, I suppose that could have been dialogue of him talking to Fatima, but I get the feeling they are going to find out that it was Elgin, like just the way that scene looked with Boyd, Donna, and Sarah walking up the stairs and confronting Elgin. I get the feeling his cover is going to get blown.
Yeah, he looked guilty. Yeah, and the thing is, it was funny. In last episode, he brought those pillows and that maternity dress for Fatima because he said he didn't want to risk going up to her room, or he didn't want to go up to the room for some reason or another. And maybe Fatima tricks him. Maybe she says, there's something that's in my room. Only this one thing will do, and here's where it is in my room. Hoping maybe he gets caught. And maybe this whole confrontation that we're looking at, but then again, there's too many people involved. I was going to say maybe this whole confrontation that they're showing isn't really a confrontation. Like now, if it was Clara and they see Elgin coming out of her room, you could see them saying, "Hey, what are you doing in there?" And where somebody might be suspicious or curious or something. But now with all three of them lined up like that at the foot of the stairs and Elgin looking guilty as hell, I think we've got.
Yeah, it looked pretty ominous.
Yeah,
it looked a little ominous. It did. And yes, Xavier, Fatima put on that dirty green dress on too. I know, it was so filthy looking. Like, and she just threw that thing on, man. Super, super cringe, super grunge. I mean, yeah, I would not wear that dress if I was a female. That's for sure. But yeah, Fatima, man, I'm worried for her. Like, I'm very worried about her survival. I mean, can she even survive this? Like, everything that she's been through. I mean, obviously she's gone way past the freaking, point of no return, it seems, in terms of, eating the rotten food, killing Tilly, sipping on human freaking blood now. I mean, can Fatima be saved? Can she come back from this, or is this pregnancy ultimately going to do her in? I don't know. I'm worried for her. I guess it could go either way, but I wouldn't be surprised if Fatima doesn't survive.
Ask the chat: is she gonna die or is she gonna live?
They said beloved character, and they've spent 2 episodes. They've had 2 literal flashbacks regarding Fatima as the central player in them. The one with Julie, and then the one with Donna. It essentially explaining, hey, this is a beloved character. Hey, dummies who are in any kind of doubt.
Everybody loves this character.
I mean, I can see Elgin coming out of the storage room with a shirt that says "beloved character" and giving it to Fatima. I mean,
just written on her forehead at this point. Yeah. But yeah, no, I'll do that. Let me set up a poll. I will set up a poll in the chat, and we will ask you guys: do you think Fatima will survive this pregnancy? That will be the poll. That will be the question. You guys can vote on that here in 1 second. I will get that up. Because I don't know. I mean, at this point, I feel it could go either way.
Steed says he hopes it's not like Alien where it comes bursting out of the stomach. I'm like, well, that'd be kind of cool, bro.
That's what Ella said, right?
Cool. That would kind of be cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
kind of would be pretty interesting. It would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, Ella's flat out said it. Fangs and claws.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know. I think they're priming us to believe that she's gonna die. So will
maybe
she
she'll
die?
be okay.
Yeah. If they're telling us, like, if they're telling us in not so many words that she's gonna die, does that mean she'll actually die, or does that mean she'll actually live instead?
Ooh, so these monsters are lined up watching Fatima give birth to the baby, and I think right when they go to approach it or whatever, people are going to discover the trap door and see, and Elgin's going to be down there too, like on the other side. And when the monsters start stepping forwards, they're going to shove Elgin and feed him to the monsters, and they're going to grab Fatima and drag her back up. That'll be my guess.
I mean, seeing Boyd
Very
walk down
convoluted.
there in that little cave-like situation, I almost wonder if they after the pregnancy is over, maybe they take the baby down into that hidden room. Maybe that hidden room does lead to the caves. Maybe that's how the monsters get in there in the first place. And after the birth happens, maybe that's Boyd descending down into that cave looking for the baby, or looking for Fatima even.
Yeah.
There it is, guys. There is the poll. You guys can vote right now. Do you think Fatima will survive the pregnancy? And so far, we got 59% saying no, she will not. Ooh, interesting.
It's so cool though, because they can take a 24-second trailer and get our minds spinning. Writing, I mean, they did that. They did that at the beginning of the season for the season 3 trailer. Our minds were absolutely spinning, and the longer it was, the more convoluted our theories got, and more complex. And sometimes it panned out, sometimes it definitely did not. But they do that from episode to episode as well. They give us like 1.5 seconds of a scene, and now we've written 3 episodes worth of content. They couldn't even film all the stuff that we're coming up with, right?
Really, yeah. And this is actually a really good point that Cloud brings up. She did kill an innocent person, so TV karma sometimes does indicate that she might die. This is actually a very common trope that we see in tons of shows, where sometimes you kill an innocent person, even if you're an innocent person yourself. Sometimes you do see that karma kind of come back around to get you. So no, you could be right. Maybe we're going to see the good old fashioned TV karma come back for Fatima, and she's going to get killed. Fatima, the Mona Lady would be a haunting of Hill House moment. Very haunting of Hill House moment, indeed.
Good TV show that was.
Is this where Sarah sacrifices herself?
No. Sarah's going to be in it for long term, I reckon.
I hope she is. I mean, I feel like we're at the point where almost everybody is on the chopping block. I feel like the only 2 characters I know for sure are not going to die this season are Boyd, Kenny, and Jade. And the only reason why I think Jade isn't going to survive is just because we've seen David Alpay out in the real world right now. He still has all of his long hair, his long beard, indicating that he needs, that for future filming. Sometimes, when you have a long running series like this, sometimes the network will write clauses in some of the actors or actresses' contracts that forbid them from cutting their hair too short or cutting their beard too much. Sons of Anarchy did this with all of their characters, which was a huge indication when season 4 came around, that a lot of us thought that Opie was going to get killed off in season 4. Because before season 4 started, we started seeing pictures of Ryan Hurst with all of his hair and all of his beard completely cut off. And that told us, holy shit, is Opie going to get killed off this season? And sure as shit, he got killed off that season. So sometimes a hair or a physical appearance can be a little more telling than, one would originally think. So when I saw Jade looking all grizzled like that, still to this day, that tells me he still has filming left to do. So I think Jade's going to survive. I think Boyd will definitely survive. I think Kenny's okay. Everybody else could potentially be on the chopping block in this final episode. Those are the only 3 I think are definitely safe.
And to have a beard like that, like Jade's, you would definitely have to get paid to keep that thing. I had that. I let mine go and it's not the chin part, it's the cheeks and the jaw part. It's closer to your ears. That shit drives you bananas.
Oh my, you're so right, man. Because the chin, you get used to. I mean, you don't like. I've had a little bit of beard, a beard for a few years. I don't even recognize it's there. But when my cheeks start to grow in a little bit more, I instantly freaking feel it. That would be the most annoying part for him or for me as well. So I know what you mean there.
Yep.
I can't believe how close this pole is, dude. This is crazy.
Right. Hell yeah. And again, that's what's so fun about this show. And that's what's so fun about this fandom is more often than not, we see the fandom kind of almost divided right down the middle where half thinks one thing and half thinks another thing. And that really does make for some really good conversations when it comes to diving into these things. Because again, you don't want everybody to just think the same way. But yeah, 53% for no. So it's very close.
We all saw the exact same thing. That's what's so crazy.
Yeah.
We all have the exact same knowledge. We all saw the exact same thing and have a 50-50 out of 60 people. We got 300 people, 300 plus people watching. Please throw in your vote, weigh in and see if it'll tip one way or the other. But it's so insane that it's so close. That's a good point, Rob. That it's that razor thin margin.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And this is another one. And this is one that I think a lot of us have been wondering when they're going to return to this, because we did get a very interesting tidbit. I remember people were putting it in the Discord that they heard one of the writers or one of the producers potentially saying that they did not forget about the death of Toby, that apparently that will come into the forefront at some point. I was not able to independently confirm that myself. Like I couldn't find any interview or anything, but I did see a lot of fans mentioning that they saw somewhere that they addressed the Toby thing and they didn't forget about that. So that's one thing I really hope they return to at some point, because that's another one of those huge mysteries from very early on that they just never really answered. Who dragged the 10? Who was, what voice was on the other end of the radio? And of course, why did Sarah kill Toby? Why did these voices want Toby dead? And my original thought was, maybe the voices got it wrong. Maybe the voices thought that Toby was going to be the special one when really Jade ended up being the special one. Or maybe there's something else going on there. But it seemed like these voices were very intent that Sarah specifically killed Toby and then cover the whole fact up to make it seem like it was a monster that did it. So I really hope we get an interesting answer to that at some point. I'm not really expecting it this season, but I hope at some point they return to the Toby storyline.
I know some people said that she took his tongue out so that he couldn't tell her anything when he's dead in the afterlife.
In the afterlife, yeah. Well, another thing I'm wondering, do you think Jade will ever find out that Sarah killed Toby? He's got to at some point, right?
I mean, if they revisited it, it has to be in that context. There's no, unless they're really just taking a death tally of Sarah, if they're like, taking her body count and they're trying to say, you've only killed one person or something, so you've saved one life, but you killed Kenny's dad and the nurse, and she'll be like, oh yeah, and by the way, one more, but that would have to be right now Sarah's the only person who knows, and So she'll have to do like a full confession or something. That's the only way it could ever come out, right?
I don't know. I feel like there could potentially be other ways that this could come out. We know these spirits know. We know Fromville knows. Like, what if they potentially? What if Jade has a vision of it? Like, we have
the
characters that have
monsters.
visions and dreams all the time. It could come right from one of the monsters, even. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like there's ways where they could kind of leak that out. Apart from
The
Sarah just
monsters.
straight up admitting it.
That's
But
it.
I wouldn't be surprised if Sarah did admit it at some point. We have seen that Sarah, as someone said here, Sarah does seem to be on a little bit of a redemption arc. She is trying to kind of, maybe she sacrifices herself for redemption at some point. I could totally see that being the case with her, her final storyline. But we're seeing Sarah is in a very unique place right now where she wants to do good. She wants to make up for the, the misdeeds of her past. I wouldn't be too surprised if at some point she even confesses to Jade.
Jade will be protecting Sarah for something, and the monsters will be the one to say, "Why are you protecting her? She killed your friend Toby.
She killed your best friend."
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh man!
That's
and then
it.
at that point, Sarah kind of just has to come clean because she's not going to lie about it. I feel like that has to come out at some point. At some point, Jade has to figure out that Sarah killed Toby. That's not something they can leave uncovered. I feel. But yeah, I like that. I like that. What is going on? And of course, will we ever actually, not only will Jade find out that it was Sarah, but will we as the audience ever find out why these voices wanted Toby dead in the first place? Did they maybe just get it wrong and they thought he would be the special one? Or was Toby actually going to be special too? Was Toby going to be some kind of vital part that they wanted to take off the board, a vital piece that they wanted to take off the board, if you will? So I hope we find out both. I mean, we have to find out why Toby got killed at some point, because I imagine it's not just a random death. I mean, Sarah was very vital to these voices, it seems. The voices waited a very long time for somebody to come around in town who could actually hear them. And now all of a sudden they have Sarah here. And at that point, they had her pretty much completely wrapped around their finger where she was willing to do anything they asked. So not only did the voices have Sarah kill Toby, but then they completely went out of their way to make sure that she knew how to cover it up in a correct manner so she didn't get caught. So at that point, the voices were very invested in keeping Sarah safe because they wanted to use her. But yeah, at some point, this whole thing has to come out, I feel. At some point. It's got to come out.
Yeah.
It has got to come out. Maybe I've described as Rob has the special one. Yeah, many have said that.
You don't have to highlight all of Mo's comments, Jeremy. You can just leave them there.
I know. Poor Rob. Yeah, in other shows, Rob is a co-host of multiple shows, and yeah, he does play the the schlemazel role. People do tend to beat up on Rob and insult him.
And I imagined I managed to escape to this channel without getting anyone giving me any shtick.
Now it's following you.
Yeah. He did get a prestigious award on Camel Moon's show the other night. Was it like least worthwhile person?
Most worthless.
Most worthless person. Yeah.
Yes.
What a terrible award. Yeah.
Oh, man, that was a great show. I must say that was a really fun show you guys put on the other night. It was fun to see Camel Knight's return. You guys did a really good job that night.
It was lucky I've got thick skin. That's all I'll say. Jesus.
You do. That's one thing I will say about Rob. He's a very good sport. For all the shit that gets thrown in his lap, he takes it on the chin and usually with a smile. And not many people would. Not many people have that kind of thick skin and are able to laugh at themselves. I mean, it's actually a good quality to have, I would say. But yeah, got to find out about Toby at some point. We got to learn about Toby. Now, of course, one other scene I wanted to talk about before we dive into the end of the episode and discuss a little bit about that. And now this one was just a little bit quicker. I mean, we don't have to really spend a whole lot of time on it, but I really did enjoy. Where is it? I really did enjoy the scene between Boyd and Kenny, where Boyd is coming clean to Kenny that the Parkinson's is getting worse. And we're really seeing Boyd kind of showcase to Kenny that he does believe in him, that he knows that Kenny is the one that is meant to take over at some point. It can't be that hot-headed Costa or some other random that rolls into here. Kenny is the man. Kenny is meant to become the next sheriff. So I really love that scene where Boyd is showcasing just how much faith he has in Kenny.
So it's getting worse. Parkinson's.
Jesus,
Look, I'm not saying this today. okay? Or tomorrow or a month from now. But I got a clock ticking on me. Yesterday, that clock started ticking a little faster. I need to know that you are going to step up and look after this place. Has to be you wearing this badge, and not some hothead like Acosta or anybody else who might come through here. You.
I reckon his Parkinson's is directly related to how broken his mental state is, and the more he breaks, the worse it's going to get.
Yes.
And I don't think
like
it's
that, Rob.
Parkinson's, man, either. I think it's something else.
Think it might be something else? Okay, yeah, because he's just assuming it's Parkinson's because it's a family, it's a family disease. His father had it, so he's kind of just assuming that it's Parkinson's, but maybe it's something else. Maybe this is something else that is happening to him that has been brought on by this place. Because Boyd did notice that the symptoms of the Parkinson's didn't start until he arrived here in Fromville. So that's actually a very interesting possibility, Rob, that it might not be quote unquote Parkinson's at all. It might be something that Fromville is actually doing to him. I could see that potentially being possible.
Yeah,
But it seems like it's getting worse.
I think it's the same with a lot of characters. Like, I think the overall arching story point is you can't break mentally, because if you break mentally, that's it.
Physically,
game's over. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that's what's happened to Fatima. She's broken. She's drunk. She's drunk the blood. She's going to do the baby thing, and I think Boyd is heading down that direction. It's just going to be different.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I just really like this scene because again, it's it's showcasing the really good relationship that Boyd and Kenny have with one another, even after everything they've been through. I think Boyd knows that Kenny will always have his back, and I mentioned this in my review. I gotta say, I think I really enjoy the relationship that Boyd and Kenny has way more than the relationship that Boyd and Ellis have. I mean, I feel like Kenny is a better son to Boyd than Ellis is. And I mean, maybe I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but I very much feel like Kenny is the better son, even though he's not even really his son. But everything that they've been through from the very first season up until now, from finding out the part that Boyd played in trying to keep Sarah safe, and how Kenny felt that was a deep betrayal, which it was, to how that didn't really fully break their relationship, to them kind of coming back and really mending fences now. They've gone on a really interesting road. So I can totally see why these two characters have this very strong bond. And then, of course, you look at the beginning of season 3, which really solidified the bond between Boyd and Kenny more than anything, I feel, when Boyd was forced to watch Tien Chen die right in front of him, while he sits there and memorizes the final words she said in Cantonese, no less. And he just sits there just memorizing it over and over and over again all night, because he wanted Kenny to hear his mother's last words. I mean, it just shows a very deep bond that these two characters have. And then when Boyd finds out that what those last words were, when Tien Chen says, "Take care of him, Boyd. He'll be alone now." I feel like, if nothing else, Boyd has definitely honored that commitment, and he really has been and will continue to be there for Kenny. So for all of those reasons and many other ones, I really enjoy the relationship between Boyd and Kenny way more than I do between Boyd and Ellis. I don't know. I feel like Kenny is the better son.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, Ellis spent at the very beginning. I mean, he was actively hostile to Boyd, still nursing that grudge about Boyd killing Abby. And that's why that scene where again a key scene almost gets interrupted, because he was basically, Ellis was like, "Why didn't you tell me?" It's like, motherfucker, you were nowhere to be found when all this was happening. You were up there living your own. At the most favorable interpretation is you were out living your best life up at Colony House or whatever. At the worst, he was actively nursing a grudge and overtly hostile, essentially, to the point where Boyd has to watch him through binoculars to be updated on his son, to keep up with his son. And now, it's like, why didn't you tell me? That whole thing got interrupted, by the monster or whatever, tapping on the window. But Kenny, for all intents and purposes, is essentially a surrogate son to Boyd, and probably a better son than, and yes, he was angry, and probably more justified in his anger. Kenny was, at Boyd. But yeah, man, I love the dynamic, and the chat's talking about it, and I'm talking in the chat with people regarding Frenchie Maple brought up that Kenny doesn't want to take that role, but he will agree to be the deputy.
He doesn't want to replace him, but he wants to have his back, and that shows, if anything, it just showcases more loyalty that Kenny has to Boyd, I feel.
Exactly, yeah, and we'll deal with that. We'll deal with the worst case scenario when that happens. But for now,
yes.
and it's a big reconciliation, because they literally said, watch your own six, watch your own back. When he threw the badge on the ground, when Kenny threw the badge on the ground, watch your own back, watch your own six. And now Kenny's stepping back into that role, saying, I'll be your guy. I'll be the guy watching your back again. It's like, perfect, man. Picture perfect. And not overplayed, not maudlin, not syrupy, not gross. Just
subtle. Yeah.
Yeah. I loved it, man. That's where I hate to say it, man, but sometimes some characters, even main characters, I'll zone out a little bit, or I don't want to fast forward, because I know for the show I want to absorb everything and catch these nuances and stuff. But sometimes I'm just not really dialed in as much. But Kenny's scenes really keep me paying attention to see. I'm almost looking for flaws at this point, because he's been so good, and I'm really solid. Not seeing them. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's been really solid. And again, I wasn't too hot on Kenny in season 1 and season 2. I mean, I didn't hate the character by any means, but I didn't really, count him in, some of my top 5 or top 10 favorite characters. But seeing the evolution that he's gone through, seeing how much Kenny has grown from kind of, a young man into a solid kind of backup to Boyd, a solid deputy. And it's been interesting to see how far Kenny has come, and how far he's come under Boyd's tutelage nonetheless. So I feel like they have a really kind of unshakable bond here at this point between Boyd and Kenny. And it was really good that Boyd is kind of showcasing to Kenny here in this scene that he believes in him too. Because that's one thing. I mean, Boyd isn't going to hand the sheriff keys over to just anybody. He's going to hand it to somebody that he feels is the best person for the job. And that's not Kenny because he's close with Kenny, because he has a relationship with Kenny. I think it's because he genuinely sees inside Kenny that he does have what it takes to lead this place and to protect this place one day. Maybe he didn't in season 1 or season 2, but season 3, Kenny, I have all the confidence in the world in. And again, I know we've been, super just incredibly impressed with Ricky He's performance in season 3. I mean, he's just been killing his freaking scenes. Yeah. And like you said, sometimes it's just really subtle scenes like this that aren't very, they're not overacted. It's not overly dramatic. It's just a very genuine human moment of a father figure letting his son know, I'm not going to be around forever. I mean, it might not be tomorrow. It might not be next week. It might not be next month. But at some point, I have a ticking clock hanging over my head. And last night, it started to tick a little bit faster. I mean, this is just your basic average stuff that every son in the world goes through with his father.
Yeah. And you do not want to have that. And you do not like it.
It's not. It's super uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, I almost kind of walked away from it feeling a little bit proud, knowing that my dad did have kind of faith in me to take care of the family if something ever happened to him, especially recently with all of the very close calls that my dad has had with his health. It's one of those conversations you never want to have. But it does feel, it does make you feel like maybe, you accomplished something worthwhile as a son, knowing that your father does have faith in you, kind of thing, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like it's just a really good moment when we see Boyd kind of come to Kenny and say, it needs to be you. It can't be a Costa or some other random asshole that comes in here. You, Kenny, you are the one that are meant to fill my shoes. You are the most qualified for this. So if nothing else, it just not only showcases their great relationship, but it's letting Kenny know that Boyd believes in him. And as a son, I can tell you personally that there's you can't put a price tag on that. When you hear from your father that he believes in you as a man, as someone who has grown up from a boy to is now a man, that's just it's a feeling unlike any other, I guess. You know, I mean, it really feels good knowing that your father has faith in you to kind of carry on the family legacy, as it were, or in this case, has faith in Kenny to protect the town when he's gone, because he knows he's not going to be around forever. But this was just, I mean, maybe it's just because I resonated with the scene a little bit on a personal level is why I liked it so much. But I really enjoyed the scene between Kenny and Boyd.
Well, I mean, this is getting very, very personal and stuff, but it is. I mean, that's how you kind of you register that you're a man too, because as a son, you do not want to face the mortality of your father. You don't want to think about that. You don't want to entertain that thought. It's almost one of those things like, don't think it into the universe because you don't even want it to be out there. But then so what can you do? You can reject it. No, don't tell me about this. I'm not having this conversation. This is what. So I'm upset because you're telling me that you're going to die. How the fuck do you think the dad feels? He is facing his own mortality. You know,
exactly. You think he wants to? You think he wants to leave his family? You know, you think Boyd wants to get Parkinson's? You think Boyd wants to die one day and leave Kenny with this burden? No, of course he doesn't want to, but he knows if he has to, he knows Kenny can bear the weight. And that means everything from the son's perspective.
Yeah. And Kenny is going to shoulder that burden when the time comes. And you don't realize what a favor, what a burden lifted off of your father it is when you accept that. When you say, look, I understand that there's going to be a time when you're not here anymore, when I can't come to you, when I can't call on you. And yes, like all the things that you had to do for the family, now I'll do them. And I accept that, even at my own expense. Wow. Crazy, man.
Great scene, man. Just really great scene. And again, maybe it just resonated with me on a personal level because I've been through a similar situation to this not all that long ago even. So this was really great scene. Loved seeing this. I just love seeing the how far this relationship has come between Boyd and Kenny, where again, in my opinion, Kenny is the better son, and that's not a dig at Ellis. I mean, Ellis has his qualities as well, and Ellis will always be Boyd's, blood. But I just feel like, everything that Kenny has shown, Kenny is the ideal son that I would want to have one day if I was ever in Boyd's shoes, kind of thing. So great freaking
Ellis. Ellis is. I mean, I think Ellis has potential, but he just hasn't seen it yet. And I thought having a kid. Having a wife and a kid would have done a lot to get him on the right track, but I don't know how long that track is now.
Yeah, Ellis hasn't. I mean, and Ellis has been through tragedy as well, and he didn't let it break him. So I got to give Ellis props as well. But I just feel like Kenny has grown and matured a lot faster than Ellis did. Ellis still isn't quite there yet. He'll probably get there at some point, but as of right now, Kenny is that solid option. There's a reason why Boyd is going to Kenny and saying, you are the one to lead the town when I'm gone. And he's not going to Ellis and saying this. He's saying it to Kenny, not his own son, because he knows Kenny is the right pick for the job.
Yeah, and I didn't care for Kenny all that much in season 2 necessarily, because he was without a tether. His father was dead and Boyd had betrayed him. So he was a kid, like essentially a kid, but a guy without a tether. He lost the bedrock of his personality, the bedrock of his life, one through death and one through betrayal. So he was kind of spinning out of control. Even back then, you guys will remember, I always thought there was some, I was a little more sympathetic. He was very unappealing. It was not somebody you'd want to hang out with. He was not I didn't like him. I didn't like how he was acting, but I always thought, man, it's just a kid without a tether. He didn't have anything grounding him, anything holding him. And he hadn't found his way. And we thought he might, and he found his way back. It seems, starting in season 3. So
yeah, he did.
Pretty happy.
He definitely has been stepping up. He's been that kind of solid backup that Boyd needs. Even during times when Boyd's own son Ellis didn't even have his back. Kenny always did have his back. And I kind of always point back to that diner scene in season 3, where Boyd is up there. He's doing everything he possibly can to keep the town calm, to keep the town alive, to keep them from doing anything crazy. And even his own son steps up and questions him in front of the entire town. But Kenny steps up and grabs Boyd's back. So again, it's just little reasons like that that point to, in my opinion, Kenny being the more mature option and the better option, in my opinion. But again, I don't want to hate on Ellis, because I feel like Ellis has decent qualities too, but he just hasn't grown up as quick as Ellis. He hasn't matured as quick as Kenny has. Yeah. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. All right, now before we close out, obviously, I know we got to talk about the ending of this episode, which has been just absolutely mind-bending in terms of, and this was an interesting scene as well, but I was actually a little bit annoyed with the Jade Christopher scene, because it gave us nothing at all. It was actually more annoying than cool to see this Jade and Christopher scene, because if we would have gotten something, if we could have got a little line of dialogue from Christopher that could have given Jade some kind of hint or something, that would have been cool. But this scene was I don't know, it was very anticlimactic to just see Christopher pop up on a roof and then scare Jade with his doll and have no dialogue and no answers whatsoever. So I was actually kind of annoyed with that scene. Yeah. But let's get to it. Let's dive in. And
it was on the nose. It was like, hey, this is, why are you doing, Henry asked him, why are you doing this? It might be important. No. Another scene where Jade is insisting that this pointless shit he's doing is important with no payoff. So
yeah, I think Jade would be better served in trying to figure out what his actual visions mean and what his actual visions are trying to tell him. Maybe these numbers will lead to some kind of reveal at some point. I'm sure they will, but I feel like the important thing that Jade should be trying to figure out are his visions, not these numbers. But I guess we'll see. And what the hell is up with Victor? I know we talked about this in the Discord the night of the watch party, but what is up with Victor reenacting that scene from Blair Witch Project?
Yeah, that was cool.
Fucking creepy, man. What are you doing, Vic? But this was an interesting scene because, and I think it was interesting the way that Tabitha was led here to begin with. We see the Ankui child kind of beckoning Tabitha to follow her. Now, at first glance, I thought, is this the Ankui child trying to show Tabitha where Fatima is being held captive? Does the Ankui child want to help rescue Fatima? Or was the Ankui child luring Tabitha here because she knew Tabitha would have this experience when she went there in terms of the vision or the memory that she kind of had? I think the Ankui children might have known that Tabitha showing up in this place might have had this kind of effect. I wouldn't be too surprised if maybe this wasn't Fatima related. Maybe this was just Tabitha related. But this was an interesting scene. We see Tabitha go down into the root cellar. And of course, Victor's already down there, and Victor's having a rough go of it. And I think a lot of us anticipated this on Victor's part because we get that revelation in episode 8 where Victor finds out that it was essentially his story that he told his mother that led to his mother's death. So Victor is definitely feeling the guilt right now, where if he never told his mother the story that he overheard from the boy in white and Christopher, maybe his mother never would have went off and left them and died. So I can totally understand the guilt that Victor is dealing with here. And of course, Tabitha comes down to try and console him. And we get some very interesting scenes. And I guess you can say it started off even earlier in the episode when Tabitha and Victor are in the church. When Victor kind of walks by Tabitha and she brushes him on the arm, she instantly gets like this weird feeling, kind of that same weird feeling she gets when she first steps on the stairs going down into the root cellar. And I guess a lot of us have been wondering, what exactly was this scene trying to showcase to us? There's been a lot of fan theories going around as to what this could potentially mean. Is this telling us that Tabitha is some kind of reincarnated version of Miranda? Is this telling us that Tabitha is actually Eloise? Or is this just simply Tabitha just having a vision of what happened to Miranda? I mean, or is it something else totally entirely? It's really hard to tell because they don't really give us anything too definitive. It's very ambiguous. Hopefully they kind of expound upon this more in the finale and we do get that definitive answer as to what the heck we're looking at here. But what about you, Ravener? Where do you land when you look at this scene? Do you like the reincarnation thing, or do you think something else entirely?
I mean, I thought she was receiving a vision of, I don't think whether she is or isn't Miranda, I thought she was receiving a vision like almost like experiencing Miranda's death from Miranda's perspective. I didn't see it as
From
a
a
third
point of view.
person observation. Did you make anything of when Victor said, "This is where it happened"? Just like how Elgin said, "This is where it happens," right? One episode prior. I
Yeah.
thought that was
No,
kind
I
of
didn't even
strange.
think of that.
Yeah, a
I
little.
didn't think
I
of
thought
that. But no, it's a good
I couldn't
point.
make anything of it though. I mean, I know that I always challenge people, like when they like say something that's a statement of fact. It's like, hey, remember when Elgin said this is where it happens, and then Victor says this is where it happened. I always follow with, and then what? So, and then what? I don't have a then what. I don't know if it's significant, if they did it on purpose just to like bookend it. I don't know how it's a bookend in any kind of
Yeah.
way. But I felt more like what we were treated to was, and now it's entirely possible that Miranda is, or that Tabitha is a reincarnated version, or I know somebody, and I can't remember. Forgive me for not remembering the name of the person who came up with it originally, but that rather than being a reincarnation, she's more of an archetype of.
Yes, and I think that was Luna that brought that
Was
up
it?
in the chat last week, and I
Okay.
100% agree with that because it does kind of. I mean, the reincarnation theory I actually like too. I think that could potentially fit just as well. But I do like the kind of idea of where not really seeing full-on reincarnations, but different archetypes kind of repeating every now and then. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, and I think we did get a nice vision. It was cool that we saw when Tabitha brushed brushed Victor's arm in the church, that Sarah was able to pick up on it, and that's really, I think, what spurred the
Yes.
voices. And of course,
Yeah.
that was a scene that got interrupted, and then it got continued. I really, I definitely think that location has a lot to do with it. I think certain locations are emotionally
Yeah.
charged depending on what traumatic events happen. The same way the
Just like with
ruined
Jade.
tower,
I mean, it seems
yeah,
like
Boyd and
these
Julie and
locations are.
Randall, yes.
Mhm.
And
These
now this
locations are
place,
bringing these visions out of people. It seems like Jade,
yeah.
he'll be in a certain place and he'll have a vision of something that happened in that place. Whether it's the three red rocks and he sees the dude with a railroad spike through his eye, or whether Jade going down into the caves and seeing the Ankui children, the actual place where they got sacrificed. It does kind of seem like it is location based, and it was kind of similar here where Tabitha is entering this kind of root cellar and she's experiencing echoes of the past almost.
Yeah. So it was definitely an interesting scene, but I'm not deep enough into the parallel dimensions, the dream world, all that like that theory crafting. For me, I'm a lot more. I require a lot more direct narration. Because right now I can't make heads or tails out of it. And if they leave this unresolved or they leave this dangling, my nightmare would be next episode they don't address any of this shit, and then they just go off and talk about somebody else or deal with some other characters or something, and don't give us anything. That would be it'll be a torture, because not only will I not know, but like literally everybody that we talk to in chat for a full year till season 4 comes out will be asking us what we think about it. And like, fuck, I have no idea. No idea.
Your guess is as good as mine. Yeah. And I need to go back and check, but again, I'm not 100% certain, so I need to go back and check, but I almost want to say that this is the same shirt that Henry finds down in the caves of Miranda's.
Ooh,
I gotta go back and check, though. I could be wrong. For some reason, I remember, just in my head, I remember it being a similar color to this. And if that's the case, maybe Smiley brought the shirt down himself into the caves. And how cool is it to see fucking Smiley again? We got the return of Smiley, guys. Holy shit. Yes. Yeah. I love it.
And he's running.
Yeah, people made a big deal about him running. I mean, we know that when the monsters burst in on Frank in the box, they have burst speed. When they burst in on
they're capable.
when they burst in
they're fucking on roofs
Brick
and shit. I mean,
yeah, they can burst.
I think it was just, yeah. And I think that was the case. And I think we're kind of touched on this in the past where, yeah, I mean, it seems like they're capable of moving a little bit faster. They're probably capable of running, but they don't. I think that's why it was just such a big shock to people, because they put such an emphasis on the monsters always walking. You even hear the writers and the creators of the show even straight up saying that, the monsters never run because they don't need to. So I guess it was just kind of a shock to see, one of the monsters actually running for a change. But yeah, I kind of thought they always were able to run. They just don't. I mean, I think it's just way creepier, way more menacing when you see something slowly walking towards you as opposed to seeing something running at you. Like seeing Smiley run was cool and all, but it wasn't anywhere near as scary as if he would have been slow walking, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's interesting what you said, that the writers said they don't run unless they need to. So is that saying
they don't run because they don't need to.
Yeah, so
it's just like they don't scream anymore.
Did he need to run in this scenario to stop her from doing something?
They didn't want to cast
Or
a whole
to
bunch.
stop
They
her.
didn't want to put everybody in makeup. They didn't want to put 10 monsters in makeup.
I think that maybe there is, I think there maybe is something to that, Rob, in terms of maybe he wanted to get to her before she entered the faraway tree, because she was. It seemed like that's what she was looking for. Like she was looking for the ball to faraway tree, and maybe Smiley was trying to just get to her before she entered the tree, kind of thing.
Because I mean, a few people have said that the answer to getting out of this place is get into a faraway tree at night time, and that's why the monsters are out at night. I don't really believe it. No, I don't believe it either.
No,
but it's interesting. And it's even interesting that the fact that he ran to stop her getting to the faraway tree.
What do you make of the fact that I mean, the faraway tree should have had a hole in it that she could have jumped into, but it seemed like that one didn't have one. Do you think that she thought that it was supposed to and it didn't? Maybe the hole doesn't appear if maybe the boy in white doesn't want it to, or
could the hole close up potentially? Maybe like to prevent access. Maybe that's possible. I thought. I mean, or could it potentially be that the hole is just on the other side of the tree and we just don't see it as the audience? But it was weird that she was almost kind of looking for it. So no, that's a good point.
Yeah, but I mean, like she's right. She's right there. Why doesn't she just get into it? Like she's got
exactly. I mean, I feel like she
at least try.
She at least had a half a second to try and jump into the thing if she could, but it's almost like as soon as she sees Smiley, it kind of just freezes her in her tracks. I mean, look at the look on her face. She just kind of stops and was like frozen at that point.
And why is she out there at night anyways? No. She left in the daytime with the root cellar.
She left in the daytime. Yeah, exactly. She left during the day. Clearly still light out, but both when her and Eloise, they both take off, it's still light out. And here we are, Miranda's running around at nighttime, potentially looking for the faraway tree. So what exactly happens between A and B, I guess, is the big question. I'm hoping we get another flashback at some point that will kind of fully explain this in more detail. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this, again, it was an interesting scene, but it definitely leaves us with more questions than answers.
Yes, a lot of Q's, not a lot of A's, that's for sure.
Indeed. But I will say it was worth it just to see Smiley. Just to see Smiley alone was worth it for me, I guess.
Yeah, we didn't expect him. That is true. That is true.
I was not expecting to see Smiley again. Like if you would have asked me, like which, how Miranda would have died, I certainly wouldn't have had, Smiley being the one to kill her as my first guess. But yeah. But I also thought this was an interesting tidbit as well, because once Tabitha has this vision or this memory, or whatever the heck it ends up being, it's very interesting how she deliberately pushes Julie away, but reaches toward Victor. It's like she doesn't want Julie to touch her, but she's purposely reaching for Victor. So again, if nothing else, I don't know if she's Miranda or Eloise or anything. I like the Eloise theory. I like the Miranda theory as well. I feel like they both have their own merits. But whatever the case ends up being, she clearly has some kind of deep, profound connection to Victor and his family. Whatever that connection ends up being is, still remains to be seen. But she is definitely connected to this family in a very deep way. And I don't think it's just as simple as her just having visions of Miranda's life. It feels like there's a deeper connection there, because then you see all the other things like the bracelet, the song. There's a lot of similarities between Tabitha and Miranda and Tabitha and Eloise. So I feel like, regardless of who Tabitha is as a person, I feel like there is some kind of deep connection that will be revealed at some point that she has to Victor and his family. I mean, there's just we're seeing too much evidence now for there to not be some kind of deep connection, I guess.
Yeah. And we're seeing, and like, I had an incomplete theory, just a notion that like the magic works for different people in Fromville. The magic of Fromville works differently for different people. Now, clearly, it seems like Jade is on, and Jade probably Tabitha, Victor for sure, are definitely on one wavelength, and it does seem like maybe Boyd, Julie, and maybe even Marielle and Randall are on another wavelength, or it's affecting them differently, or they have different accesses to it. Because Jade has had visions of the past. Boyd has had visions of past. Maybe Jade and Boyd are closer than even like Tabitha and Jade, as far as like how the magic works for them.
Maybe.
Again, I'm really just spitballing. I haven't really fleshed it out or thought about it, but it does seem like almost the same, the way that the spirits interact differently. The evil spirits and the good spirits through Sarah specifically, even. It seems like things work differently for different people, and we got to figure out how exactly what wavelength these different people are on to figure out how, what they need to do or where they're going, what's happening here. But because it does seem like different, right? Julie's not part of Tabitha's story. Essentially, Julie's not part of Tabitha's storyline, basically. Other than being
and not up until this point, we haven't seen any kind of definitive connection between the cicada weirdness that Julie, Randall, and Mari are going through. That, at least on the surface, we haven't really seen any kind of definitive connection that has to Tabitha and Victor's storyline, or even Jade's at this point. I feel we're seeing some surface level connections here and there where Fromville is kind of putting a lot of people through these weird things, but in terms of like storylines converging into one, whatever's happening with Julie, Randall, and Mari seems to be kind of happening to Julie, Randall, and Mari, and I get the feeling that that's their storyline to deal with. Maybe it will flow into another storyline at some point, and we'll see some storylines start to merge into one. But as of right now, just on the evidence we have up until this point, seems like Julie, Randall, and Mari and everything they're going through is separate from what Tabitha is going through. Yeah,
I think the closest we got was that very on the nose connection where Julie had the vision of both Tabitha and Victor in the cave, or she had the auditory illusion. She didn't see them down in the caves. When Julie was having the seizure, she heard Victor and Tabitha immediately after the collapse of the Matthews house, and then also the Ankui chant, which might have tied her to what Jade saw down in the
to Jade and Tabitha a little bit there. And again, I definitely get the feeling that if Julie was just able to stay in that vision for a split second longer, if she did potentially make it around that corner, because if you look at that corner, you can see it. It seems that there is light coming from around that room, and it definitely doesn't look like daylight. It looks more like torchlight. So I wouldn't be too surprised if Julie stayed in there just half a minute longer. Maybe she would have seen the Ankui sacrifice there, similar to how Jade saw it. And maybe we would have gotten a more definitive answer as to what was really happening there and who sacrificed these children as well, because that's still up in the air. I mean, I think a lot of us, it seems like a lot of the fandom anyway, is, kind of under the impression that it might have been the Ankui children's very own parents that did this to them, considering that Victor says that it was their loved ones, the ones that they trusted, that sacrificed them, which does kind of indicate some kind of familial bond there. But I mean, in terms of like deep connections, we don't really have that deep connection between what Julie, Randall, and Mari are going through and what Tabitha and Jade are going through, and Victor. But I'm hoping at some point Julie will return to those ruins, and maybe she will enter that state again, and maybe finally give us that definitive answer as to what was around that corner, and maybe we will actually finally see who was responsible for sacrificing these Ankui children and why they were doing it. What were they hoping to gain? What was the objective of sacrificing your own children? What kind of dark goal were you hoping to achieve? Immortality? Something else? Like, what were they hoping to gain, I guess? But no, like you said, some interesting twists, but really just leads to more questions.
What do people mean by reincarnation of Miranda, though? Like, what?
Well, that goes to Frenchie's point that's highlighted on the screen here: archetypes versus
archetypes. That's the difference between archetypes and kind of reincarnation. For example, an archetype is basically just two different characters filling the same role within a narrative, and you can kind of point to Jade,
just like in Cabin in the Woods. They had the
Well, yeah,
hero, the fool, the maiden, the
yeah, that's a
whore.
certain archetype. Yeah, but I feel like in this case we're seeing, a similar archetype is repeating over and over again, and I think Jade and Christopher are a real good example of this, where everything that Christopher has gone through, seeing the symbol, the doll, most of everything that we've seen that Christopher has gone through, we're seeing that Jade is going through that exact same thing right now. So we're seeing that Jade and Christopher are both filling similar archetypes within the same story. Now, when it comes to archetypes and reincarnation, it's a little bit different. Now, a reincarnation would be full on that Miranda was reborn as Tabitha, that Tabitha really is the reborn version of Miranda. That's the kind of reincarnation theory versus the archetype theory.
I kind of just think that it's all kind of a loop, and the previous like Tabitha's seen what Miranda did previously, and following the same sort of path, but she's not a reincarnation of it. She just sees what she's done, like what's happened in the past.
Like a repeating. That would be more similar to a repeating archetype than reincarnation.
And I kind of feel that like all the characters are gonna go through the same situations as previous characters, and it's about choosing different choices to what's been chosen before in order to succeed.
Yes. And I think we get a little bit of that from the boy in white even as well, where the boy in white, we have Victor, begging the boy in white to give him something, tell me how to help these people. And the boy in white says, I've tried that already once before with Christopher. And we all know how that ended. Whatever help that the boy in white gave Christopher, it seemed to only lead to the entire town getting slaughtered. So this go around, we're seeing a lot of characters fill very similar roles to that 1974 timeline, whether it's Jade mirroring Christopher, whether it's Tabitha mirroring Miranda, whether it's Ethan mirroring Victor, even Boyd mirroring Martin in some small ways. We're seeing these kind of archetypes repeat. Now, I guess the question is, is it archetypes repeating, or is it kind of full-on reincarnation? I kind of tend to lean a little bit more towards its archetypes repeating, because like you, Rob, I also think that there is something very definitive to this whole time loop thing happening. Not so much time loop, but almost like there are these cycles and, these cycles of events that are repeating over and over and over again. And we've gotten so much evidence of this throughout the course of the series, even very early on in the beginning of season 3, when Tabitha and Henry first meet. And Henry starts describing some of the things that Miranda went through, how Miranda apparently came under the impression that she was a quote unquote chosen one. She was chosen to save the children. But not only that, Miranda was also seeing tons of previous chosen ones that were also chosen that all failed to save the children. And that definitely gives us the indication that there's some kind of cycle that is repeating over and over and over again. And for whatever reason, they keep failing every single time. But I do get the feeling this is going to be the cycle that finally gets it right. This will be the cycle that finally, it's got to be. Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, I suppose it could, the whole show could have a much darker end and they don't solve it. And it's a much more, dubious ending. That's a possible as well. But I definitely think they are going to solve it. I feel like this is the cycle that will finally get it right. And much to your earlier kind of theory, Rob, that I fully agree with, I think that the ultimate objective is saving those Ankui children. Save the children, break the cycle. I get the feeling that is where this is going. And that's why I feel like it's not going to be just as simple as finding the way out of Fromville and all strolling out. It's not going to be that easy. If they all just find a way out, they'll probably just get pulled right back in by whatever pulled them in here to begin with. They need to do something while they're here, and they need to complete some sort of quest, for lack of a better term. That's why I always really love that line we get from Ethan very early on in season 1, where he says, everybody has a part to play. This is a quest. And until we and how we go home is completing the quest. And I definitely think that was, again, a kind almost like a blueprint, for lack of better terms, for the entire series, where they're here for a reason. It's not going to be as simple as them just finding the right faraway tree and going home. There's no way it's going to be that simple. They need to complete something. They need to complete some sort of task, some sort of quest, defeat something before they leave. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if it is successfully finally saving these Ankui children where everybody else previously failed. Maybe that will ultimately break Fromville's hold on this place and allow them to actually leave to the point where they won't be getting pulled back in. But yeah, it's not going to be as simple as them just finding the way out. But in terms of the difference between reincarnation and different archetypes repeating, I suppose that's the question going forward. Are we seeing full-on reincarnations of previous characters, or are we just seeing similar archetypes repeating over and over and over again? I don't, there's evidence for both, but I kind of lean a little more towards the archetype.
And throughout all these cycles that have gone on in Fromville, no one's obviously finished the quest, and it seems like there's so many mentions of like history repeating in throughout the show, like Jim and Victor's dad with that conversation. You got Fatima with a baby, and this kimono lady with we assume had a baby at some point. Whether that's true or not, we'll find out, I guess. But yeah, it just feels that like Tabitha is looking at previous versions of people that have failed at solving the quest. That's what it feels like to me.
Well, and that's why I kind of almost point to Jade potentially even being, even Jade kind of almost fitting the bill of more of a chosen one, more than even Tabitha does. Because Tabitha and Miranda have been having some similar storylines, yes, but when you look at the similarities between Jade and Miranda, it's way more similar between them two than it is between Tabitha and Miranda. At the end of the day, Tabitha has only seen the Ankui children. Tabitha isn't seeing all of this other crazy shit that Miranda was seeing. But Jade certainly is seeing all the crazy shit that Miranda was seeing, from the Civil War soldiers to all this weird Ankui children. The rocks that Jade saw, Miranda saw those too. So it seems like Jade's experiences and Jade's visions kind of parallel Miranda's experiences way more than Tabitha's do. So part of me wouldn't be surprised if Jade is the actual real chosen one, because we also have to think back to the boy in white talking to Christopher in the basement as well. The boy in white specifically said to Christopher, you need to be the one to go through the tree. He didn't tell Miranda that she needs to go through the tree. He never indicated that Miranda was a chosen one in any way. He indicated that Christopher was meant to save the children, and whose storyline is paralleling Christopher's now? Jade's. So I wouldn't be too surprised if at some point Jade finds out that he's the one that needs to go through this tree and potentially save the children, because Jade has also been seeing visions of these children as well. So I wouldn't be too surprised if maybe Tabitha isn't the end-all be-all chosen one, that maybe Jade will have a bigger part to play in that in the long run as well. Because again, his experiences just seem way more similar to Miranda's than Tabitha's do.
And one interesting point on that is Jade's visions seem to go back a lot longer than Tabitha's, like to a much older time period, where hers seem to be mainly the time period before.
And that's the thing. Tabitha doesn't even really have visions. I mean, Tabitha's not having visions. She's just seeing the Ankui children. Jade and Miranda, they're having legit visions of Civil War. Like Miranda saw the Civil War soldiers as well and did a painting of them. Jade has also seen the Civil War soldiers. Jade has seen the Ankui children and the rocks. Miranda saw the children and the rocks. So yeah, Miranda and Jade, their experiences go incredibly far back, whereas Tabitha is really only seeing the Ankui children, and she's really not seeing much else of anything.
One thing I thought was interesting was when Victor was having his vision of Christopher and the boy in white, when the boy in white is telling Christopher what to do, he doesn't say everyone lies here. He says everything lies here. Everything here lies.
Everything lies here. Like there's other things out there, like the boy in white, like maybe some other entities, like maybe even this mysterious man in yellow. Like maybe there's other things out there that Christopher has seen in his time here in Fromville, and maybe he's just got a very bad feeling from all of them, to the point where he says nothing tells the truth here. Everything lies, because like you said, he says everything, not everyone. That's a good point.
And Jasper was seated in the chair. Christopher was standing up, which was also kind of strange. Why would that be the case? And then, when Christopher's arguing with the boy in white. But again, that whole vision was Victor being an unreliable narrator, because we were fed this scene where we thought that Christopher and Jasper were having this argument, that Jasper was telling Christopher things that he didn't want to hear, and that they were arguing, when in fact at no point was Jasper the one doing it. It was always the boy in white. And we just get this as a side note, or as a an additional little add-on. Oh yeah, by the way, in exactly the very same way as when Miranda was preparing Victor to be down in that root cellar, the first half of that narration, Eloise wasn't even in the scene, and then they cut back again, and then Eloise is there. So Victor's memories are highly suspect, and it's strange to even put any stock in them at all at this point, because this is the second time where things have been wildly different, significantly different. The same scene as narrated by Victor, the same memory, is wildly different than what it turns out to be. So
yeah, and that's the thing. That's it's just why I love, and that's why I love the show, and why the show is frustrating at the same time, because they give you all of these interesting little tidbits to latch onto, but nothing to kind of tie them together, nothing to anchor them, I guess. But it is fun kind of weaving through this tangled web of nonsense to see what exactly is going on here, and to try and discern which character is going to fill which role, which character is really important here, who's really meant to save the children, who's really meant to do this, who's really meant to do that. And again, it's been a ton of fun to kind of dissect all of this stuff and try and figure that out. But yeah, Jade's done a shit ton of drugs. He's closer to unlocking his third eye than Tabitha, who hasn't dropped acid like Miranda. He just hasn't used psychedelics like Miranda did. I don't know. I think Jade has used psychedelics. If we actually look back to the beginning of the first season, when Jade and Toby arrive in Fromville, Jade isn't high in that scene. Jade is definitely on some kind of tryptamine, some kind of psychedelic. You can just
rolling.
You can just tell by his reaction, the way that Jade gets out of that SUV. That's not some random drug or him random high. Those were very clear symptoms of him being on some kind of psychedelic. So I think Jade already has had the psychedelic, and that's why his visions are so more advanced than Tabitha's are at this point. Jade has definitely already tripped balls, for sure.
What do you tell Boyd? He's like, he says something like, you have a beautiful face or something.
You got a beautiful face. Yeah. No, he says it to Father Cochran. Father Cochran comes up to him. He's like, okay. Everybody here is so beautiful. You're all so beautiful here. Like, that is clear telltale signs of somebody being on something like ecstasy or Molly or something along those lines. Like, that wasn't a normal drug high that Jade was experiencing. The symptoms he was exhibiting are definitely more along the lines of some kind of tryptamine or some kind of psychedelic. And that's coming from someone who has done psychedelics in the past. And, I know what it looks like. And that was not some normal drug high. Jade was most definitely tripping balls when he first arrived here. I would put money on that. So I think that's why Jade's visions might be a little more advanced than Tabitha's, because Tabitha hasn't dropped that hit of acid yet, unfortunately, where Miranda did. I think Jade is just much more connected to the history of this place than Tabitha is. Tabitha seems like she has a very deep connection to Victor's family, but Jade seems like he has a very deep connection to Fromville, far deeper than Tabitha's. But it's going to be interesting to see where this goes, and who is going to fill which role in the end, and how this will ultimately all shape up. But we got one episode left, guys. Season 3 is coming to a close. I can't believe this season just completely whipped by so freaking fast. And if nothing else, I am very excited heading into the finale. I'm looking forward to getting hopefully something definitive. Hopefully they give us something, really good and big for us to kind of chew on while we wait for season 4 to come around. But here we go, guys. Episode 10 is upon us. We are just a few days away from the finale, Revelations Chapter 2, and I cannot wait to see it. But man, awesome stuff. I guess we'll do what we usually do before we close these things out. I know we did it during I believe we did it during our Sunday stream, but it's always interesting to get everybody's ratings when they first see the episode and after they've had a chance to see the episode 2 or 3 more times. Usually, sometimes we'll see people either upping or lowering their grades. But I will ask everybody again, everybody in the chat, and of course, you guys on the panel as well, where would you guys rate episode 9 on a scale from 1 to 10, with 1 being horrible and 10 being perfect? What score would you guys give to episode 9? Ravener, what you got?
Well, as I say, every episode, usually, upon multiple rewatches, I find more things to redeem, and I tend to drift upwards from my initial estimate. I had started around a 7, and upon multiple rewatches, I'm actually. It was very rare. I think either last episode or the one before that, I actually went down to a 6.5. Oh man, I am feeling a 6.5. I'm not feeling this episode, because the thing is, I don't owe them. I don't owe this show anything. I don't owe them. Their job is to entertain me. Their job is to provide me the entertainment, and it's still better than most things for sure. And I think taken as a whole, in its totality, I think season 3 might be better. But man, they've just kind of drifted. Like my ratings are drifting downward because the episodes are drifting downward. They had a few strong points, but still some very strange stuff going on. Some wasted scenes. The scene with Donna and Acosta, kind of wasted, and they basically ended it saying, "After this is over, we'll talk."
That screen time could have been used for something. Again, when you only have 10 episodes, you got all these freaking characters. You got to allocate screen time, in a correct way. So yeah, that Donna and Acosta scene could have been cut right out of the episode, and we wouldn't have lost anything narratively.
Yeah. So for me, I mean, if I was feeling generous, I'd have stuck with 7. But like I said, it's their job to provide me what the entertainment, the whatever, to scratch the itch. I did. I'm going to drift down, and I'm going to stick on 6.5 on this one, and tell them that they better bring fucking everything, bring the whole house and the kitchen sink, everything in episode 10, because I will be mad, and I think a lot of people will be like actually angry. We've already seen a few people like talk about, they want to give up on the show altogether, and I don't want that to happen, man. I want this thing to keep growing. I want it to. I mean, some of our longtime watchers have seen us go from 30 people in the chat in season 1 to 60 in season 2, and now you're getting up on the Saturday show. It's up over 500. Even on a friggin' Tuesday night late, we're up over 300. That's fucking incredible and awesome, and that's awesome. People that want to talk about this show. This is our audience wants to hear about this show, and I want to keep talking about it, man. But good God, dance with the one that brought you, man. Bring those monsters back, and I'm sure we're going to see it, but it better not just be some milquetoast down in the cave scene. We need to have some heart pounding action, some major revelations. Give us something, and leave us some questions, leave us something dangling, leave us a cliffhanger to tide us over till season 4 comes, because 100% guaranteed this thing's getting renewed for a season 4. And I hope they just say we're going to do a season 4 and season 5. Don't worry, all the fans, everybody out in the world, it's over and done with.
MGM should just pull the trigger at this point. I mean, they know this is becoming their most popular show. I mean, if I was MGM, I would just kind of pull the trigger and just don't play it safe. Just announce you're definitely going to get a season 4 and a season 5. And if they're planning on ending it at 5, then that's totally fine. If they're planning on going further than that, that's totally fine as well. But it does suck when they have to wait. Like when a show, like from a production standpoint, the cast, the crew, the writers, everybody that works on From, they're all sitting around waiting to get that confirmation that they are going to have a season 4 so they can start working on it a little bit deeper. Yes, they're probably well into the writing for season 4, but obviously they're not going to start a lick of filming until they get that official confirmation. So the longer MGM waits to give them that confirmation, the longer us as fans have to wait for the next season. So that would be the one piece of advice I give to MGM. Please start renewing these shows a little bit earlier. Give the cast, the crew, and the production a much needed head start to get these shows filmed and done much sooner, so us as fans don't have to wait a year or longer in between seasons. So that would be my takeaway.
And stop spoiling your show to the masses. Stop giving out early copies of whatever the hell they're doing to reviewers or whatever the crap is that they're doing. This show is about going on the journey, not finding out spoilers before you watch an episode, man. I just don't understand why they're doing it. It's just stupid. Stop it.
I totally understand how they need to give out early access to some publications to kind of create that buzz. But one thing I did notice is they are giving early access to so many people for season 3, and some people that don't really even have that big of audiences. So I would be a little more selective with who you're giving early access to, because we saw what happened this year. We're getting tons of leaks. The entire finale has been leaked online weeks before it even aired. We didn't have these problems in season 1 and season 2 because we didn't have that aspect. So I agree with you, Rob, to a certain extent. I would maybe limit who they give early access to and make sure you're giving it to people that you can trust. I don't know how MGM handles their early access. I know how HBO does it, and HBO kind of puts kind of specific watermarks on things. That way you can get kind of directly get traced to someone if they do leak things. I don't know how MGM does it, but I do agree. I would kind of limit the early access because, I mean, just look at all the leaks that we've had this year. It really has ruined the experience for a lot of people. I see it in our Discord every day where a lot of fans that are so dedicated to the show and love this show so much, they're getting spoiled about what is going to happen in the finale 3 weeks before the finale drops. That really does ruin the experience for a lot of fans. So that would be another kind of just a parting note to MGM. I think MGM is doing just about everything right in terms of how they're handling the show, in terms of they're incredibly interactive with the fans. The cast in particular is incredibly interactive with the fandom, and that's so cool to see. We don't really see that with a lot of shows. So they are doing a lot of things right, but that would be kind of my 2 takeaways.
Was this one just was this one just an ugly duckling? Like your sophomore year, like there's the girl that has the glasses and a little pudgy, and then they come back over the summer and they've got a C cup, they got contacts, and now everybody wants their dance card. But the sophomore year, you think this was for MGM, where they were just they were just glad anybody was talking about them at all. And then now magically, the ugly duckling turned into a swamp. Yeah.
I think they were just trying to grow the show. I think they were just, they were very excited to kind of get the show out, and they started giving early access to a lot more people in season 3 than they did in season 2, which is a good indication that the fandom is growing. But that would just be my only advice. Maybe be a little selective with who you hand early access to. Make sure you're giving it to people that you can trust to not leak things on Reddit and things like that. Because that's, I mean, we've seen so many leaks that have come out, and 9 times out of 10, those leaks come from people or publications that are getting early access, and then they're hopping on Reddit under some kind of fake screen name and dropping all the answers to spoil it for everybody. It's unfortunate that we even have people like that.
Predictions.
But we do. We do
My
have
theories.
people like that. No, not even predictions, just straight up spoiling the episode, saying this is what's happening in the finale. Like, not even putting it in a theory, just straight up spoiler. So you got to be careful. You got to kind of pick and choose and make sure you're giving it to people you can trust, that are actual fans of the show. Because that's another thing. I saw a lot of people get early access to the show that didn't seem to really know much of anything about the show other than the little stuff that they probably Googled before their interviews. So that would probably be one of my takeaways. And it would be nice to see them renew these shows a little bit earlier. It sucks that we have to wait for the whole season to end before they get that official confirmation that they will indeed be getting a season 4. Because now at this point, with them waiting so long to renew it, we're probably not going to get season 4 until the very end of 2025, if even in 2025 at all, depending on when they start filming. So that would be my two pieces of advice. Definitely renew these shows a little bit earlier so the cast and crew can get started on production a little bit sooner, so we can have some shorter wait times in between seasons, because that will cause people to lose interest. I can't count how many people that have just completely lost interest in everything that has to do with House of the Dragon because they have to wait 2 years in between seasons, which is just ridiculous wait time. It's not feasible to ask your fans to wait 2 years in between seasons when you're only getting 8 or 10 episodes. That's just not a reasonable ask to ask the fandom, in my opinion. So that would be my advice. Definitely get these shows renewed a little bit sooner so the production can get started a little bit sooner, so we have some shorter wait times in between seasons, and hopefully be careful with who you give early access to, because we saw what happened this year where we just had leak after leak after leak after leak pop up on Reddit and everywhere else online. And it's one of the main reasons why I don't even have a Reddit account. You'll never catch me on Reddit because I know that is the home for spoilers like this. But that would be my only parting advice. But Rob, what would you give episode 9 in terms of 1 to 10? What is your rating?
Just quickly, I'd say I'd tell them not to give out early access to anyone, man. This is not the kind of show that people need to have advanced copies of. Like, we need to see this when it comes out. You know, it's like a word of mouth show where people get into it. It's hurting everyone's viewership if people get spoilers, because then people don't come around because they're scared of getting spoilers. It's not a good idea. But in answer to your question, I'd probably give it a 7. I think Ravana was right. And if you look at the average review scores of this season, it's definitely gone down. So I think the general consensus is everyone is feeling the same way, even if you do still really like the show. But yeah, I'd go 7, man. What about you?
Okay. I think I gave this, I don't remember what I gave it on my previous, if it was a 7.75 or an 8, but I'm definitely at like a 7 as well. I feel like if this was just like a regular mid-season episode, you know, I would have been incredibly satisfied. But when you get to episodes 9 and 10, when you get to the penultimate episode and the finale, the fandom does expect the final 2 episodes to have a little more bang for your buck. So considering this was an episode 9, yeah, I'm going to give this one a 7. And I feel like that's being generous. And the only reason why I'm giving it a 7 is because I really enjoyed some of the character moments that we got in this scene. The great scenes between Boyd and Kenny. The great scenes that we got between Jade and Henry. Some of the really great moments that we actually saw Jim, of all people. We got some really good character development and growth from Jim in this episode as well. So I did enjoy the episode. There were things in it that I really did enjoy, but for an episode 9, for a penultimate episode, I was expecting a little bit more, I guess, but I am still enjoying it. I'm still very much looking forward to the finale. And these are just our very small, basic constructive criticisms. And anytime we say criticisms like this, it's always meant to be constructive. I mean, I think anybody who knows us and has been around here for a little while knows that bashing the show is not our thing. But we do want to be objective, of course, as well. I mean, I'm watching this show, I'm analyzing it, I'm covering it as a YouTuber and as a member of the media. So I have to be objective. As much as I love this show, I can't not call out things that I think could have been handled a little bit better, I guess. So anytime you hear us bringing up some criticism about the show, please know it is always meant in a constructive manner. We love this show. We love these characters. We love this cast. And anytime we talk about something we didn't like, it's only for the purpose where hopefully people can hear these criticisms and maybe improve on some areas where the fandom thought they were lacking a little bit. But that's it.
They need to nail it, though. They need to nail this next episode. Like, it needs to be a 10. Yeah.
They got to nail the finale.
That happened a lot in season 2, though, too, where we felt that, or at least I felt that the writers thought they did enough, but it seemed like a lot of the fandom didn't feel like they had done enough. A lot of fans
didn't.
Yeah.
We're getting a similar feeling here.
Yeah, and that's where I am. Is like I just don't feel like I owe them the benefit of the doubt either. I mean, I want to like it. I want everything. I want this to be to blow me out of my seat for episode 10. I know, and I think, like you said, if you're feeling 7 is when you're feeling generous, and I'm not really feeling generous. That's how I drifted down to a 6.5, just because I don't feel like I owe them. I don't owe them a good rating if they're not scratching the itch, if they're not putting out the the show that drew me in. Because I've given some episodes a 10. It's rare, but I've given, I think 6.5 is as low as I've gone all year, and this is like the second time. But this show does have the potential for 10s. It has 9.5 potential, 10 potential. They can do it. I know they can, and that's almost even more galling, because knowing that they can and they don't.
We know what they're capable of. Yeah, we know, like, we know the incredible storytelling and the incredible intense feeling that they can create. We know what they're capable of. So then when we see the show get a little bit slower, yeah, I can totally understand fans kind of having those criticisms, because like you said, we know how good it can be, because we know how good it has been in the past.
Yeah, so, I think they shot themselves a little bit in the foot with the first 2 episodes of this season, because they kind of tricked us into like a false sense of, man, we're going to ramp it up here, and it's going to be like 9s and 10s from here on out, and then it dropped off massively. And hopefully they can ramp it back up for this episode.
Yeah, and then when they had the big one, and then 3. We forgave it, or not even forgave it. We took it in stride, because it's like, look, it can't be pulse pounding all the time. You've got to regroup. Yeah. And then 4 was exciting, with the nighttime scene. And it's like, ooh. And then 5, we're like, okay, we take 5 in stride, because when something exciting happens, you regroup, you reassess, and then form a plan and keep going. And then nothing after that. It's like, it didn't happen. But hey, again, I always say this also, in addition to my harsh rating, I will always say this. My optimism is still sky high. We know what they can do. I believe. I'm a believer. I think they can do something fantastic
for the show. Absolutely.
Yep. And we know what they're capable of, and I still have faith. Now, I'm not going to say that my faith hasn't been shaken, because it is. I'm like, waiting with a little bit of clenched teeth, a little bit of trepidation to see what happens, but still tons of optimism, guys. I have a feeling that 10 is going to, I have a feeling, because I want to have a feeling that 10 is going to be awesome. It's going to give us everything that we want. We want some excitement, some answers, some more questions, just a holy shit moment right at the end, fade to black. And then we're going to have a whole year of talking about it. So that'll be my prediction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm hoping we're going to get a good finale. I'm hoping they're going to give us something pretty solid, and not only close up some of these storylines that started this season, like the Fatima storyline, the pregnancy, the kimono creature. I'm hoping that we're going to see some of these storylines get closed up, but I'm also hoping we're going to get something, like you said, something really nice to chew on heading into season 4. I would be very surprised if this season doesn't end with some kind of big cliffhanger like the previous 2 seasons have ended. I'd be surprised if I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to follow that format throughout the rest of the series, where every season ends on some kind of massive cliffhanger. I vaguely remember reading that somewhere, that they're going to end every season on a cliffhanger. But yeah, that's my hope for the finale.
That's fine, as long as the finale itself has enough to satisfy you.
Give us enough to chew on. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Tie up some of these storylines.
Tie up some storylines. Yeah, man.
Yeah, give us some of these storylines tied up first, then give us that crazy cliffhanger that leaves all of us like, holy fucking shit, what did we just see? And I feel like they did do that very successfully during both season 1 and season 2. The season 1 finale was awesome. Seeing Boyd get stuck in that freaking shaft, everybody wondering what the fuck is going on. And then season 2 ending with Tabitha going into the real world. Awesome finales, awesome cliffhangers that gave us so much to talk about and so much to theorize while we waited for the next seasons. So I'm hoping we'll get a similar end to this season as well.
I swear, though, if we end episode 10 and Fatima is literally about to give birth and they end the show, I will throw my computer out the window. I will lose my nuts.
Yeah, that's the story.
No, man, don't do that shit.
Yeah, at the very least, the Fatima storyline, they need to close up this season. They can't carry that over to next season. And I imagine they won't. I imagine it seems like, based on the trailer, it almost looks like we saw Fatima in labor in the trailer. It was at least what it looked like anyway. But I guess we'll see. I guess we shall see. But again, super, super grateful for this show. Absolutely. I still love just about 95% of everything they're doing. And I'm really looking forward to the finale. I have a feeling I'm hopeful it's going to be a really good finale. And I'm really glad that I was lucky enough to stay away from some of the leaks that are out there. And again, I'm super sorry to anybody out there who did see some of those leaks and got spoiled, because I did see a lot of people in our Discord and in some of our comment sections stating that, the finale was kind of ruined for them because they saw some of these leaks. So you hate to see that happen, because like you mentioned, Rob, a show like this that is heavily predicated on mystery and not knowing what is coming, to hear those spoilers before you see the episode, it really can ruin the experience of this show. So I am really looking forward to the finale. I cannot wait to see what kind of twists and turns they have in store for us. And let's end this season off with a bang. And thank each and every one of you in the chat. You guys have been so supportive this year in terms of showing up to the live streams, sharing out the videos, hanging out in the Discord, showing up for the watch parties. I can't thank each and every one of you enough for everything you have done. And Frenchie says, thanks to you three for being there each week, many times per week, and creating that community. And honestly, right back to you guys in the chat. You guys have been so instrumental in creating a really awesome fandom right here, a really awesome community that I'm very much looking forward to kind of going into other shows with. I hope some of you choose to stay on with us as we start to talk about some other shows as well, like Dune, Silo. We got Yellow Jackets coming in February, which I am super pumped for. I cannot wait to see Yellow Jacket season 3. And of course, when From season 3 does end, we will be doing a complete From rewatch party starting right from the beginning. So I promise you, the party is not going to end when season 3 ends. We definitely have tons of From content that we're going to still be planning to do. And hopefully you guys choose to come and hang out with us for the ride. And again, big thank you for all the support. You guys have been absolutely awesome this year. I can't thank you.
To some of the first timers, I did post the Discord link in the chat for you guys. The Discord was recommended by the chat. They said, hey, we want a place to talk about this. We didn't know the first thing. I'm a Gen X boomer. I didn't know anything about anything, but they said, build it up. And we had some awesome help. Betrayed King was awesome about it. We have some great mods in there now. And it started from zero. And now it's up over like 1,100 people in there. If you want to talk about From with people who are definitely into From throughout the week, in between our live shows, our watch parties are there. Anybody can do a watch party. The voice channels, you can stream any random thing. We did stuff for Halloween. We do episode rewatches. I'm sure that our rewatch parties are going to be in there. Funny that we got 190 votes on that. Will Fatima survive? And no, took a commanding lead, 57% to 43%.
Damn, 57% of the chat thinks Fatima will not survive her pregnancy. Oof, man. I'm a little worried for her too, guys. I am a little worried for her too, but I did vote yes. As worried as I am for Fatima, I feel like it's almost too obvious that she's going to die, that she's not going to die is kind of how I'm looking at it. So I'm expecting her to survive, but then again, I wouldn't be too surprised if she does kick the bucket, but hopefully not. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I picked no. Rob, you're the tiebreaker. You're the tiebreaker on the panel. Yes or no?
Yeah, you think she's going to survive, or is she going to survive this pregnancy or no?
Oh, he had to leave. He abstained. One abstention. Sorry.
We'll have to, just like From, we end on a cliffhanger. We'll have to wait until next week to hear Rob's answer. But yeah, awesome stuff, guys. I can't thank each and every one of you in the chat for just helping us cultivate this awesome little community here, this awesome Fromily fandom. And I also want to thank my awesome co-hosts as well, whether it's Rob, Ravener, Snug, Aldous, everybody that's helped us over the years. Cannot thank you guys enough. Could not do these streams without you guys. And I'm looking forward to diving into this finale, and we will see where this show is going to end.
Well, I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure, all the way through. It's we waited so long. It feels like this past 10 weeks. If you told me 2.5 months had gone by, I'd be in denial. It doesn't even feel like that. But really, it's been an awesome pleasure. And like Jeremy was saying, you guys in the chat, I know, some people followed us from Shogun. Some people followed us from House of the Dragon. Some people just are not interested in anything but From. But man, yeah, we're gonna try to keep going with shows that people are interested in, and that's another great opportunity to put your choices up in the Discord. We'll find something that a lot of people like to listen to, talk about, hear about, and yeah, man, it's all about what you guys want. So I don't know. That's it.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. We have that series suggestion channel in our Discord for a reason. If there's other shows that you guys want us to start talking about, and and that's where we've been getting so many requests for shows like Severance and Silo and Yellow Jacket, shows that we will definitely be covering, a lot once they're out. I'm actually currently working on my Silo breakdown, and I will probably have my Dune episode 1 breakdown probably up on the channel tomorrow as well. But yeah, if you guys have any shows that you want us to dive into, always throw them in the series suggestion folder in our Discord, and we will always see it there. But again, big thank you to each and every one of you guys. You've been so supportive of everything we've been doing. And yeah, we will continue the party. The show goes on, as it says. Right when season 3 ends, we will be heading right into our season 1 and our season 2 rewatch. So don't worry, guys. We are not leaving.
You know what? I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm not fucking leaving! The show goes on!
I did not see that coming.
I saw a good opening to use it, and I figured, yes, let's drop it. But big thank you guys, and yes, we will be live this Saturday as well for the final episode 10 pre-game show, so definitely come and hang out for that. And of course, Sunday we will be doing our live watch party as well, followed by next Tuesday right here on the channel. Raven or Rob and I will be back diving into all things pertaining to the From Season 3 finale. So until next time, stay safe, guys, out there. Stay safe out there in this crazy world we find ourselves in. Watch out for those fallen trees. Don't get pulled into Fromville. Don't trust the boy in white. And until next time, keep those tinfoil hats on, folks, and we will see you on the next one.
Okay, ding-dongs. If you don't subscribe to Jeremy Ice and Fire, you're gonna spend the night in the box.